We are the Holocaust.
Welcome to We Are the Holocaust.
Hello, Bouncy.
Hello, Robert.
How are you?
I'm good. Have you seen what this episode's called?
I have not. Oh, at least I have a chicken.
No, at least I have chicken.
Oh,
Do you know what that refers to?
no.
Do you remember Leroy Jenkins?
Oh, it's his 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary of Leroy Jenkins. 10 years, though.
10 years. That is a little bit scary.
It's because we were talking last week, or the week before, about Gears of War being 10 years next year.
Yeah.
And that's scary. But when there's something that's an internet phenomenon, and that's 10 years old, you start thinking, Jesus. Because this is like, there's some things you talk about and you think, oh, well, do you remember when that was on the telly?
Yeah.
This is when the internet was huge still.
When the internet was huge.
still.
This is when MySpace was a thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you look at turn of the millennium, the internet was in use, but nowhere near what it is now.
No.
Not in the sense of social media and devices in your hands. It was you sat down at a computer and you had to go onto message boards or whatever. And with 2005, by that point, you've got big social networking. You've got people with smartphones starting to come in. You've got consoles that are kind of going through, PCs and stuff. And Leroy Jenkins becomes a phenomenon.
He did.
Who's now... He's got a character named after him in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And a card in
The trading
Hearthstone.
game. I saw that, yep.
And, it's 10 years.
Didn't somebody make a fan film based on it as well? Like a live-action fan film?
Yeah, there's done all sorts, like, spun off from it. There's also talk that there was a preacher, a kind of radical preacher in America, called Leroy Jenkins with one E, because he's two E's, who was arrested.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't make the connection that it wasn't the same Leroy Jenkins, who was a fictional character in World of Warcraft, played, I think it was Brian Scholes or something, his real name was. But they assumed that this was the real Leroy Jenkins. And somebody put out a fake news story, as police led him away, he was asked if he wanted to make a comment, and he said, at least I have chicken. Which I just thought is brilliant, because the meme has now become
at least
something where it's becoming self-feeding now. Anybody with the name Leroy Jenkins is going to always be saying, at least I have chicken.
Yeah.
But, having chicken is something that's very good, as is having a show like this.
Yes.
What we talk about this week, Rob?
We have our regular feature, What Have We Been Up To? Which I think is self-explanatory by this point. It's what we've been up to.
If with this Tory government, we won't need to have this feature, because they'll know everything we've been up to.
I have had to cut back on the jokes this week.
Yeah.
There was a humour deficit, and we have to do our part. So we've also got feature number 1, entitled Bouncy's Girlfriend is supplying features now.
Yeah, she is. It's getting that bad.
But that looks at quite a unique way to deal with a hacker in a certain game.
Yes.
Which was quite amusing.
I hadn't even seen it. She just found it.
I saw it on Eurogamer, so I was aware of it this morning.
She saw it on the BBC News and went,
ooh,
Nathan will like this. And then she showed me, and I was like, hang on a second, get that here. I have not actually seen this, so we'll read about that later.
And then you have some news on the Lego Dimensions game.
I have.
Which you're very excited about.
Well, I'm frightened of as well. My joblessness and this do not go well together.
They do not, but we'll talk about that more later.
Yep.
We've also got the weekly news roundup. Several big titles to discuss. We've had news and so forth coming out.
Very exciting.
Lovely. And then we have the second feature about a rather risque gaming figure which is being released. Yes. And then we move on to my bit.
What are you talking about?
It's simply entitled Are (young) male gamers more withdrawn?
Yeah.
So, but it was an interest. It was a.
See, I've deliberately not read that, so I can hear it all straight from you.
So yeah, it's an interesting subject based off a article published in America, which
America. They know what to say about people who are withdrawn.
Yes.
Give them a gun.
Yes.
Give them a gun.
So yeah, it's a little slightly cliched look, but it was an interesting subject.
Well, that's a bit depressing. Are we following that up with something joyous?
Competition winner.
We were just going to say yeah then. Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Competition.
We've got our Qwertee t-shirt competition. We're going to announce our winners.
We were going to have one winner, and we had so many entries. I've asked them for an extra code.
Oh.
Boom, 2 winners.
2 winners.
And a disqualification.
Oh.
We'll get to that later.
It's a false start.
So if you've entered, you might find out that you've been disqualified.
True.
And you'll be shamed on the show. So, but we'll get to that later.
We will.
Shall we have a song by Dalek?
Let's.
Life is like a hurricane, here in podcasts, comics, movies, mobile games, we're the Lolocast. So now let's parlay with Duff and Bouncy, DuffTales, woo! Every week he's here and telling DuffTales, woo! Also Bouncy, Dalek, Mark and DuffTales. And when he's drunk he might get cocky and try to steer the talk to hockey. Then Bouncy Ball will kick him in the ball bags. I was a better host than Duff ball bags. Everyone should kick Duff in the ball bags. Ball bags.
There we go.
I do enjoy Dalek songs.
I do. It's good to have him back
Yes.
as well. He did message me earlier. He gifted me 2 games, one of which I'm going to talk about in a minute today, to try and cheer me up because we were sort of chatting away. He said the reason he's been away is he wrote a song for Jim Sterling, who said it was delightful. So he obviously quit the Holocaust because he didn't need to be under the table begging for scraps anymore. But obviously he's back now.
Yeah.
So
Well, the grass isn't always greener.
Well, maybe he's realised that Jim Sterling is still the plagiarising mofo that he always was. And he was essentially still working for Holocaust, just in recycled material.
Yeah.
And clickbait.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Jim Sterling wishes he worked with me.
Jim Sterling wishes he worked, I think. Lazy fat git.
So
I'm still going to pork pie him one day.
Oh, all right.
He challenged me. He said if we were ever in the same room, I could throw a pork pie at his face at point blank range.
Huh.
And then he moved to America the next week.
Oh.
That's a
forward
fake,
thinking, that is.
That's a fake challenge, isn't it? Yeah, all right, yeah, you can throw a pork pie at me. But I'm going to America. Good luck getting there. But this is what this podcast is for. I don't really care about games.
This is a virtual pork pie.
No, I'm slowly working my way up to it, so I'll get invited to an event in America, and I'll take a pork pie with me to America, smuggle it through customs, because you're not allowed to take food in, are you? Smuggle it through customs, wrapped in like a jumper or something, get onto the showroom, see him stood there, and then go, Jim, remember me? Barry Scott, Seal It Bang. Pull out a pork pie, throw it in his face. And then they'll arrest the man who plays Barry Scott in Seal It Bang adverts, because I've covered myself.
Yeah.
And nobody will ever listen to this episode, so nobody will know my crime.
Well.
Genius.
So, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I had my Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition experiment, which was to see if I could install the disc.
That was the experiment.
Well, that was a start.
Is my Xbox One working now?
And then take the disc out and then put my Sniper Elite 3 Regular Edition in.
Right.
And see if the Ultimate Edition content, which is all the DLC that's been released so far, would still be available to me as a regular owner.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
No. They're on to you.
Well, but that's quite interesting because in the past, very often when I've done an Ultimate Edition and content is on a disc and it's done an install, that content's for yours.
Yeah.
Like the Skyrim Legendary Edition, the Mafia 2 Collector's Edition, the what else has had it? Borderlands, they did install discs and stuff like that. Very often they do.
Yep.
Because it's very simple. And then you just share them around a bit if you really want to. This, it does a full install, but that content's only out if that specific disc is in there.
Right.
Which is good from a publisher's point of view.
Yep.
Not so good for me because I've now got to either keep borrowing the game off my friend and complete all the DLC, which is what I'm going to do, or buy it. Now I should buy it because obviously it's good content.
Yeah.
I get to save Churchill.
Right.
And there's no more decent event than saving Churchill. But as it is, I was annoyed that they released that so close to the third game coming out.
Yeah.
Like, I bought it, and then I think they announced that about 6 weeks later that they were going to release an Ultimate. If I'd have known that, I would have bought the original.
Yeah. There's a bit of a kick in the teeth.
And then the Ultimate Edition. Yeah, and the Ultimate Edition doesn't contain the pre-order bonus.
Okay.
So I pre-ordered it and I got Hunt the Grey Wolf, which is Kill Hitler and Charlie Brooker.
Right.
Not Charlie Brooker the person, just he's motion captured and scanned in.
Right.
So he plays a Nazi.
Yep.
And he's between you and Hitler. So you can shoot through the back of Charlie Brooker's head and kill Hitler. which is a very motivating reason to pre-order a game. So I did. I pre-ordered it, and I got it, and I've been very happy. I do like the game. But I found it incredible that the Ultimate Edition didn't contain that content.
It is odd.
It's almost like they're saying, right, well, there's two types of people who are going to buy an Ultimate Edition. They're either the people that wait for a budget price, or they're the people that really like the game and then they want another version of all the content. And because they pre-ordered their game and got Hunt the Grey Wolf, they'll still have that. So when they buy the new one, that'll still show up. So they'll be fine. Maybe they've traded their game in since then, and then they can rebuy the game, and they'll still have the original DLC, plus all the new DLC. That's all good. It's a bit of an odd one. Yeah. It's not a complete edition, it's just an Ultimate Edition.
It's the timing strikes me. I didn't realise it was so close between the original release and the Ultimate.
It didn't release the same amount of time, but it came out. They announced they were going to make one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get on there. You get 9 DLC packs.
Yep.
Save Churchill Parts 1, 2 and 3. 6 weapon packs. Loads of free updates. 6 new multiplayer maps. Capture the Flag mode. Twilight Strike co-op missions. Shooting range, etc, etc. So you get a lot of content. It's about 20 quid. If you haven't got Sniper Elite, that's the game.
It's perfect, yeah. For 20 quid, you can't argue.
No. And you can buy now the Hunt the Grey Wolf DLC as a downloadable product for about 6 quid. So if you want the complete edition, you can assemble it, but why it's not on the disc is just the bizarre reality of it. So the experiment is complete, and I should just keep that disc for a little bit longer. And I think maybe I'll just have to sell my old copy of Sniper Elite and buy that one. Because that's the only sensible option, really, if I want all the content. I can buy the season pass, which is about 18 quid, or buy that game for 20. I might as well just trade mine in, knock the cost off, and I'll probably be better off than buying a season pass alone.
True story.
But there you go. That is my experiment. That took all of 10 minutes, but the install took 12 hours. The experiment itself took 10 minutes. The hardest bit was getting the second disc to go back in. Because, of course, once it had installed, I was like, oh, all the content's in there. Take that out, put the other... I forgot about this bit. Ironically, today I was setting up for a customer. It was like the last time I'm going to do it, an Xbox One console for them. So as part of the shop, what I do as a service is I will update the console, install the essential apps, so things like the Blu-ray player, the music player, the media player. And if they've got any games or install codes, I'll install those on and update them. Just in case they don't have internet where they are, and they just want their console, or they just want to go home and play the thing that they've paid for. I think it's a good service. But it does take a while sometimes, particularly if you've got a console bundle that's got a 40 gig install game in it.
Beautiful.
So I started that when I started my shift today. I was an hour late leaving the shift to get it finished. And afterwards I just thought, that took as long as trying to install one from a disc at home. It was quite an interesting thing. But it was the white one, the Sunset Overdrive. That's a very nice looking console. It did make me want to swap for one. But I'm still holding out for an announcement about Gears of War. It's supposed to be coming out next year. I would like that one.
We shall see what comes along, I suppose.
Certainly will. What have you been playing?
I've continued my little foray into Marvel Contest of Champions on
As
iOS.
Have I?
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
Still enjoying it. I haven't played a monstrous amount this week. I've dipped in and out very much. A lot of the time, just jump in, grab my crystal, maybe do a little bit of the story, and then jump out again.
Yeah, because it is a thing you have to sit down really for half an hour if you want to play it.
Yeah, for sure.
You can jump and have a quick match and just play one fight, and it'll take you 2 minutes. Or you can grab your crystals. Or if you want to sit down and do one of those little battle rounds, it's a half-hour game. And it is a game. I mean, that's the thing. It is so you can properly play with a story. At the moment, they've got some Ultron Urgent quests as well, which is quite a good one. I've only done one so far, but basically it's a bit like apps where it just says, oh, this is now happening. And it's like, oh, there's a new Urgent one. You go in and there's bigger rewards. So it's quite a nice way of getting people in, because I think they've sensed that the Ultron thing now is not such a draw.
Yeah, the film's out.
Let's now start, how do we get people to keep playing the app? But content's still solid. I'm enjoying going through. The only issue I've got at the moment is I've got more upgrade materials and I've got gold to upgrade with.
Right. See, I've got more gold than I have upgrade materials.
Yeah, so. I tipped the balance when I upgraded Wolverine and Captain Marvel.
Right.
Beyond the normal upgrades. I used the ISO 8 things. And so now I've got loads where I've saved up to keep playing to try and get these special ones. But, it's good to have extra. And as you level up, your inventory gets bigger. So you can get to a point where you have to start selling stuff. But now I'm at the point where I'm not actually collecting any more than I need. But yeah, still absolutely solid. Sudi Spa, did you see messages on Twitter? Had uploaded a video of him playing as Deadpool.
I didn't know.
He played it and managed to capture some of the footage of a match. And he's playing with a 3-star Deadpool.
Right.
So it's the first time I've seen Deadpool's third attack. You know, like we do a super power one.
Yep.
And he's got a mobile phone. And the enemy's just stood there, he's like going, and you just hear, it's like, it's a good 20 seconds of this. And then Deadpool just pulls a handgun out, shoots the guy in the face, puts his gun away. And that's the finishing move. And you just think, that's Deadpool. Yeah, that is Deadpool. So I'm glad that other people are enjoying it as well. And I'm also really glad that people are sort of sharing these things around. And it's an interesting one because capturing gameplay from mobile devices is easier than ever. Like, if the Falcon was a little bit more powerful, I almost managed it the other day to capture some Crossy Road footage because you can get an app which will allow you to set up the laptop as a second screen. You'd probably be able to do it with your Mac anyway. And then you just put a screen recorder on. And then you convert that to a YouTube video and
off you go.
You're done. And for that, I mean, that's quite handy for a mobile device to be able to just go through. So hopefully if I can get that sorted out, we might be able to record some gameplay of my Contest Champions and upload them. So that would be splendid.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I wasn't sure what to make of that weird noise at the end.
I'm tired. I've been job hunting, Rob.
Yeah.
Because last week, as I announced to everyone, I handed my notice in.
Yes.
At my current job at the entertainment centre, which we're no longer affiliated with. But they're still affiliated with us. Because they need us more than we need them. But no, I've got 2 interviews lined up already. So I could be working for a bank, or I could be working for the second best cinema on earth in Britain. Second best cinema in Britain. I'd say the Alamo Draft House in Texas is probably one of the best. And Mann's Chinese Theatre.
I've not been there either.
I haven't, but that's where they first showed Star Wars. It's where you always see those people lined up. And
yes. Oh, yeah.
And Iron Man 2, was it? Where there was
3.
an explosion? Yeah, there was an explosion there, wasn't there? So, I mean, that would have to count as a very good cinema just for
people blowing up outside it.
Yeah. Oh, of course it was. Yeah, it was the exploding man, wasn't it? So, no spoilers there. It's early on in the film.
It's been out long enough.
Yeah, I'm going to say. So I've been really working quite hard this week. I've applied for, at last count, 109 jobs. Which, for a small area, that's a lot of jobs. So, yeah.
But one of the interviews is at a bank. And I see from what I've been playing, you've been training for this new role at a bank via an iOS game that Dalek gifted to you.
Yeah, well, I was a bit depressed this morning because I was at work and there was a lot of stuff to do. It's almost as if they thought, oh, Bouncy's leaving, let's make sure he does all of the work that you would normally have done in a month, but let's make him do it in 2 days. So I had so much to do and it was a bit overwhelming. Like I said, I'm tired from... Well, also, my ex-wife had a baby, so I've had the kids here all weekend. And after being a Saturday dad and then going to being a 5-day-a-week dad with school runs and buses and everything else, it really didn't work out too well for me. I was absolutely exhausted. So Dalek sent me a game and said, oh, here you go, this will cheer you up. And it's called The Firm. It's made by a company called Sunnyside Games. You can find them on Twitter. It's basically, and I don't really like using the word pixel art, but it is pixel art. A lot of people just immediately think, oh, it's something that's trying to be an 8-bit retro game. It's really not. If anything, I'll say it's similar in looks to Tiny Tower. Or those sort of games.
Definitely.
And essentially, the closest thing in terms of gameplay I compare it to is Papers, Please, the great PC game where you work as a border control agent. This one, you're working for you're an investment banker, maybe?
Yeah.
You're buying and selling shares, so whatever that class is you as. And you've got 4 types of papers. So you've got green slips, which are either shares that are going up or shares that are going down, and red slips where shares that were already quite low are going very low, so they're a good investment, and then shares that are low but coming up, which aren't a good investment. So you basically got to buy the good investments and sell the bad investments, and then every now and then you'll have to tick a box or sign some paperwork and do that as well. And it's very simple, as you see, very simple gesture-based. But the better you do, the more work you get, which then makes it harder. And eventually you get too much workload and you throw it out a window of the skyscraper. You die. And then there's just a queue of autonomous people queued up to take your place in the business. and it's a depressing way to start going into that as a job.
Well,
So that might make me prefer to go to the cinema if I could get the choice.
it's nice to have this experience before you go in.
Do you know, it's a really, really nicely made game. Very, very simple. It tells a very important message. I mean, it's one of those that you can play for 5 minutes and get what they're trying to say. But I do want to keep playing. There's lots of little settings. Like when you get promoted, you can buy a little thing that will help you last longer. Or it might make the workload go slower.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
And there's in the options where you can change the music. So it's like Happy Worker or Christmas music for a Christmas office theme. Or no music, my ears are already bleeding. There's another option which takes away the suicide at the end.
Okay.
So you just get fired. And it says, because getting fired is traumatic enough underneath it. So there's lots in there where they've played around. They know that this might be a bit of contention for someone, so we'll give an option to remove it if we want. But yeah, it's a lovely little game, and I should imagine we'll be playing it all week in between everything else I played.
Yep.
It's one you can, hopefully it'll be an offline game as well, so I'll be able to just play it on the bus. And so thank you to Dalek for sending me a depressing game. He also sent me Final Fantasy VI, which apparently is one of the best games ever made.
Oh.
I've never played it.
Oh.
So I will give it a go, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. It's turn-based RPG, and I don't like turn-based RPGs.
I, as a rule, don't, but then I also love Knights of the Old Republic. So is that the exception that proves the rule?
See, I like
Probably.
I like XCOM, which again you could say is turn-based RPG, really. So maybe now I've played a lot of XCOM, maybe going back to it, I'll be able
Feel
to
differently.
Maybe I'll put that on, but we shall see. I will report back on whether I like it or not. It might just be one very short thing of Final Fantasy VI. It's a load of shit.
Yeah.
But I might gush about it and love it.
You might gush about it.
We will see. Gushing about things you love, Destiny.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this a little bit more later on. But that's the weekly. What did we do? It literally was the weekly strike. I've barely played Destiny this week, which is unusual for me.
I had 2 customers in the shop today talking about Destiny.
Oh.
One said to the other, I've got the Galahorn.
Oh.
The other went, fuck off, have you? And he went, I got it as a drop. He went, no one gets a Galahorn as a drop.
Oh.
And they were like, well, obviously someone gets a Galahorn as a drop. And he's like, yeah, but you haven't. He went, oh, but I've got it. And he's like brought up the app thing where you can look at it. And he showed him, and he just went, you must have bought that. He said, no, I got it as a drop. It was just, but it was this one guy who was so anti the idea that, oh no, you couldn't possibly have got that in a random drop. That's not how Destiny works.
But it completely is.
Yeah,
you just get it as a random. You just get it as a drop at the end. I think this was a point a few people picked up on about a fortnight ago that Zer sold it in September. I mean, Zer's only there 2 days a week. He sold it in September. He hasn't had it since. He's had everything else.
Yeah.
Several times in some cases. I think he had the same Titan gauntlets 2 weeks in a row recently. But he'd only had that once way back in September. People were like,
Because it's a rocket launcher, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the
but it's like, what happened to this random drop? And, it was... I know Synaptic Flare was getting annoyed because it wasn't dropping for him.
It did make me smile when I just heard it. I just
ranting
thought,
about it.
there must be people all over the world who have this same conversation. Where they're just like, I can't believe you got that as a drop. You must have done something to get it because it's just so random. But I did think of you. I tried to record the audio, but they left too quickly.
Did you not want to kind of go, I've got a Gallon horn for your mum?
No. To be honest, that's not.
That's a missed
Although I
opportunity.
did the other day, I did do a your mum joke
or
an insult. I don't normally do them because I think they're beneath me somewhat, much like their mums.
Really?
But I was walking down the street and I've got a backpack. It's right here.
And a beard. You don't do well at airports, do you?
Well, I wear a blazer,
yeah.
but I had both straps on.
Right.
And I got to the shop and there was 2 teenagers stood by the shop waiting for me to open. And one of them went, you 2-strap wanker. Yeah. And I went, well, mate, I like both my hands free to push your mum's head up and down. And he just looked and just went, huh? as if it was a genuine true story. Like, he'd never heard a put-down story. And he was like, you see my mum? I was like, no. I just unlocked the door. I was just like, yeah, I was like, it wasn't the reaction I was expecting. I was just like, say, oh, fuck off, mate. And instead it was like, huh? So, yeah. Don't argue with beardy men with 2 straps on.
All right.
Probably for a good reason. Yeah. But it's just, I need both my ends, mate. Totally unlike me, but it also had to land completely wrong. It just traumatised the teenager. Never mind. Tapped Out. Have you been tapping the Tapped Outs?
Continued.
The stories
I'm
carrying
basically
on
just
nicely.
accumulating corn, bits of DNA, and gas masks.
Have you been doing the money pile?
Yes, I like the way they've suddenly. We talked about this on a previous episode, how some of these games have to try and find a way to manage in-game currency because people just build up and up. And I've got like 12 million in-game dollars.
Yeah,
I like the way they've just basically thrown this in there as a thing, rather than going just buy this for $5.5 million. They've gone. You keep tapping Mr. Burns, he'll keep throwing a few thousand on at a time, and it'll build up
until you spend $5.5 million. But it will take you a month instead of a 24-hour period.
Which I'm fine. I'll just keep doing it. I've got it, and all the time he's throwing that on, obviously I'm accumulating stuff back through jobs and houses and so forth.
It's a good one. I like it. I was explaining to the kids about this whole meat sink, as I call it, from my days in Kinderloven. But they were like, "Well, what's the point?" I mean, well, by the end of it, you'll have a prestige item.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, everybody will have a stage, and it'll grow naturally as people play it, which is quite nice because not everybody can afford the £5 million buildings.
Yeah.
But everyone can get this £10,000 base and add on at 1,000 a time. So everyone can potentially budget their way because some people do spend it too much. They'll think, "Oh, let's extend my town." Well, if you go out one line each way, that's $1 million. So you can lose it quite quick, or it's just a level cap increase. That could be another £1 million building.
Yeah.
So this way, it's quite nice to give people a very nice, shiny, prestige building. Also, quite a funny one.
Yeah.
It's just the whole storyline of Mr. Burns going, "Yeah, just throw a load of money in a big pile because I want money to jump around in. That's what I want." It's like an inverted Scrooge McDuck.
It is. Definitely.
But I like that as much as I like everything else that's going on. It's just there's been a nice steady release of content, and it's.
So I fell just short again of Dr. Robert Terwilliger.
Yeah.
Like with what do we have? Superheroes.
Yeah.
Another 24 hours. I've been quids in there.
Yeah.
Just fell short.
This one I've just not had time to commit it. But none of those things
are unreachable.
And none of them really bothers me. I've not got them.
No.
Like I would have liked him as a character, but they gave you Sideshow Bob for free.
Yep.
Like the one you really want
was Sideshow Bob.
Now the concern I've got is at the end of the story he's going to be arrested.
Yeah.
And then he'll go from the game again. But if he doesn't, I've got the best of those characters for free as taking part of that.
Yeah.
And that's all I really wanted. I've got the open prison, essentially, the minimum security prison, and potentially Sideshow Bob. That's enough. So I'm quite happy just to take part now and get all these... I can't remember the name of the research. And Marinoso, whatever it's called.
Marinoso.
Just to get those buildings, to build a little kind of campus of those buildings. I quite like those. So, yeah, it's if I had the time to really hammer it, I'd have easily got everything on the events. I don't think I'd have got things like the farmers market because I think you've got to concentrate on one or the other.
Yeah, you have to accumulate so many resources.
But I wonder whether if once you've levelled the buildings up and got everything unlocked, whether that would mean you've suddenly got enough to then go through the list.
Again, I think it's going to be time. Because once you've unlocked all those bits, you've still got to then re-accumulate.
I think the trick is to concentrate on what you want to achieve. Like, so for me, I want the research campus, basically. So every time one of those buildings becomes available that I don't have, I want to upgrade that. I want to upgrade the chemical machine because then I'm getting more rewards back, which means I can upgrade that one quicker, which means I can upgrade that one quicker. I'm not too fussed about anything else because I want those Monsanto. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want those buildings because they're the sort of things that once they're left, it's a nice block on my town that matches. So it's still enjoying. I've still not gone back to Family Guy, though apparently Star Trek thing's finished now, so I might go back.
Yes, I believe it has.
See if it clears through. I think there was the Bird's Nest Beard Peter.
Right.
So I might try and get that. And that maybe get me back into it. But at the moment, I'm worried that I won't go back to a game I've paid real money on. I paid £20 on that to get all the horror characters. And Star Trek thing just... Well, it's Star Trek. I've got no interest in Star Trek, really. And it was interesting to me that a theme that I didn't agree with, not agree with, but just didn't gel with me, completely killed the game. Because it was all Star Trek, all the time. It was like, oh, look, they're making jokes about Riker's beard. I don't care.
Yep.
Saying I don't have time for Star Trek, that's wrong. I like Star Trek, but if it was Star Wars, I'd be on it every 5 minutes. If it was getting all the stuff from the Blue Harvest episode, yes, I'll be all over it.
What if it was a game where Peter had to collect Star Wars cards? That would be a great idea.
It would be a great segue.
It would be.
Into a segment where we could talk about Star Wars card collector.
Boom.
Yeah.
There we go.
Or as I like to call it, the ruin of Postman Gav.
Ruin of Postman Gav.
Which is what it should be renamed, because brilliantly, it's my plan has finally come to life. All is proceeding as I have predicted.
You've just been waiting for a Star Wars card collector game to come along.
I've been sat here with my hood up in a great big chair in front of a big circular window.
Something dark side.
You'll find your trading cards will be quite incomplete when your friends arrive. But yeah, he's completely gone off deep end now, joining Reddit.
Yep.
He went onto Reddit as an adult male to try and find people, to try and trade with people to complete sets. Which then means he'll have loads of cards that we can just take, and we don't need to do these crazy, ridiculous things like spending money on things. But it's good. I mean, obviously you were tweeting this week about how you had a slight issue with the fact that you have to go to these communities. You know, they're just kicking everything.
No, I need to put my hoodie on because I'm freezing my ass off.
Oh, it's not that cold in here.
It is.
It's always cold in here, but it's not that cold in here.
It's true.
The windows aren't open today. I might not keep this bit in. Might just go back to where I was saying about the tweet thing. But once you sat down.
Yes, I was tweeting this week.
So you were tweeting this week?
Yes.
About how it's not necessarily the right thing that you should have to join a community.
Yeah, I can understand why people do. But for me, and this is the same issue that I had with Destiny previously, is that unless you join these communities, I know Destiny had matchmaking, but equally this has got an inbuilt trading system. But I think at one point I had about 15 trades outstanding outside of we've got our little circle going, you, me, Hock, Postman Gav, Vimesy and Welsh Beck.
Yeah.
So we've got our own little circle, but all these trades I had outside of that are just ignored. They just timed out. They were ignored. And it's like, well, what's the point of this inbuilt system if the people you're trying to trade with, they've left the game? And this is going to happen. It's an iOS game. People come and go, you've just talked about leaving the Family Guy game behind.
Yeah.
It happens. And I know lots of people have left Tapped Out behind. But when part of the game, quite a pivotal part of, I call it a game in the loosest sense, but when the pivotal part of this app is trading, you need that trading community to be thriving, and you need to work within the app. Yeah. I shouldn't have to go off and open another app or open another website to find people to be able to trade with.
No.
You know, it's easy enough being able to trade. You know, obviously we can tweet each other messages and say, look, you know, I'm trying to complete my collection of blues. Can you do me a favour?
Yeah.
And I know Gav's done that for me a couple of times. Just a couple of cards he's pushed my way because he's completed the collection, he's got the achievement, he's happy to move on.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have to go around finding subreddits and so forth to be able to make something like this, which should be so simple, work. You should be able to go in, buy a couple of packs. Great, I need that. Right, I've got a duplicate of that. Let's trade that for something else. Right, go in, but right, that person there has got it, off a trade, and then you just watch your time out.
Yeah.
And that's shitty, and that destroys the enjoyment, and it kind of makes you not want to bother. Because it feels like other people can't be bothered, and you lose a fundamental aspect of the entire
That's
app.
the thing. I mean, like, the most comparable thing I could draw a comparison with, that's awful, the most comparable thing I could compare to is Steam trading cards.
Yep.
Because again, you know, you can only get 4 cards on average per game.
Yes.
By playing the game. Then the rest you have to go into the marketplace and buy them, or go onto a forum, say which ones you've got, ask for a... I mean, it is a terrible system, really. Yeah. But what it benefits from is if you're already part of a community. So you might be part of a Steam group that's 1,000 members.
Yeah.
And between you can just say, oh, have you got this? Oh, you got that? I'll swap that with you. I think if with this app, there will be Star Wars forums where they've got a pre-built collection of people who will go through it. Now, with us, we've introduced this game to people, and those who are into it are trading in and they're doing a bit, and it's making it easier to get the lower level sets. But if there was 100 of us in this forum and in this group, it probably wouldn't be an issue. So I don't necessarily think it's a fault on the apps side of it. I think it's actually the fault in diffracted communities.
Yeah.
Because the apps basically, everything's there to trade. The issue is people prefer to trade internally.
Okay, yeah.
So I was looking on there, like there's that chat board, isn't there, of people say, I got this
that
guy,
moves so quickly. That.
Yeah, there was
That's
last
just
week,
impractical.
they did the vintage Han Solo card.
Yes.
and a site popped up online called Vintage Ham. Or Han, however you want to say it. I say Ham because I'm saying it wrong. And basically somebody just created a site with that, and it was like, come along, you get a sign-up bonus if you join, and one person who signs up gets this Vintage Ham card. Well, of course, that's brilliant traffic for a website.
Yeah.
And then from that, loads of people were on there, and then they could all trade internally.
Yeah.
It's, again, taking people away from the app. So the app can't really do anything about it, because there's people there going, well, I've got this card, I'll sell it for 50 quid on PayPal. Yeah, I'll buy that for 50 quid on PayPal. Well, again, trade's gone.
Yeah.
Because somebody paid for that one.
Yeah.
You know, like Gav was tweeting us earlier, there's the Bounty Hunter collection of 10, which is soon coming to an end. We've both got one tonight.
We did.
I've now got 2 of those.
Right, I've only got the one, but yeah.
And he said, you know, at the end of it, if you've got all 10, you get a big reward. So what will people be willing to pay? What will they give up in exchange for having that set of 10 at the deadline? Because there's a potential of people going, well, that card's not coming out again. If you missed it, you've missed it. And of course, everybody wants the full set. So who's going to be the person to give it up?
Yeah.
And like I said, people will trade big for it. Well, maybe they'd pay big for it. You know, so I'll be very interested to watch the chat channels on that last day and see what sort of silly offers go through. Because we've seen it where a game can come out a day early, someone's got their pre-order a day delivered early. People pay 60, 70 quid just to have it there that day. So, as with this, I'll be very interested to see how the economy of it, how the chat thing works, how desperate people get.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to use it to benefit myself as possible.
So I'm not that into it. I'm enjoying it because it taps into what as a kid with football stickers.
Yeah.
Obviously, we both enjoy Star Wars as do the other guys. But it's just, it's that sort of barrier to break down. And, you know, as we said, you know, there are subreddits, there are websites. And I know when I put the tweet out, there's a couple of Star Wars card collectors fan accounts that one's following me at Star Wars Traders.
Right.
And they're publishing news and things and stuff like that. And they basically said they want to try and connect people. But I'm not that in-depth into it. And it kind of, as I said, it breaks a fundamental part of the app if you're going out. And I'm trying to pick people who've made trades.
Yeah.
Because my logic is, well, if they've made some trades, they must be active. Whereas if you've got someone who's made none, it's like, well, either they're new or they've just gone, okay, uninstall, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So you're trying to pick out, it's like, well, is this guy going to... And when they don't reply at all, it's just like, well... What's the fucking point?
Yeah, they do need to sort out inactive accounts very quickly.
Yeah, and
mark
that's
them something. Perhaps have it with a green or white icon, so you can see just at a glance if someone's actually active.
Yeah.
As a trader, as opposed to just
because
opening the app. Because some people just open the app and buy the cards and never feel the need to trade.
Yeah, which is fine.
Because as we've talked about, it's incredibly intimidating. How do you do it?
Yeah.
If you suggest a trade that is awful, well, of course you're not going to get that trade. So you'll get a 1-star review. Well, you wouldn't want to trade with a 1-star review. But that's probably a new player who's then scared off from trading, and it makes it all very difficult. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Gav comes up with this trading circle, because between us, we could do well as a group, because we could kind of fence rare cards to him. So like all the 3 of us have got the Bosch bounty card. Well, if we were to send our 2 to Gav, he could then trade using his connections, and then maybe complete a set, which he could then pass down to us. And between a lot of us, we could probably get all the little
and that works
rewards
to a point, but that also kind of takes the fun out of it for me a little bit.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about on last week's show, because I'd only just started last week. I think I've been on for 24 hours, so I've been on just over a week now. And the elements of it I like, as I said, they tap in to the old football stickers. When what you said last week was perfectly right. Some of them you didn't realise how rare they were. And that's part of the beauty of it. Yeah. Because you might get this shiny sticker across your palm once, and if you don't keep it, you may never see it again. Whereas with this, you know actively how many there are, as it tells you. Yeah. There's 100,000, there's 1,000, there's 100, there's 1. But it just kind of, I don't know. Modern technology has both benefited and work to the detriment of this one, because you go off to the subreddits and the websites. So I said, whereas that kind of pure, I've got 2 Dennis Burkamps for your Gianfranco Zola. And that kind of that element's gone a little bit. That almost that innocence to it, and because you have to move outside, and you're right. It's difficult to know what one person's trade value for a set card is. Is 2 whites worth of blue or 3 whites worth of blue, and that varies from person to person. It's not easy, and it can be intimidating. And some people are ridiculously aggressive. We've seen that. From the trades you tried, but there needs to be a way, I think, to sort the in-app stuff, because there is that feed where people go, "Oh, I've got this to trade," but it moves so quick. To really sit down and work anything out is
this is the other thing. I mean, like talking about the bounty hunter set. I mean, today, without much trying, we both got that card. Mm-hmm. And the reason was we knew what pack it was going to be in. Yep. We had the money available at the time.
Yep. Now, if you advertise that well,
if you were to pay attention to their feed, you know what was coming up. Like just now, they've just released a new shred pack.
Right.
Got a Django Effect shred card. Now I spent it. Well, I had 15,000 left over after getting that thing because we got the credit bonus for it. So I could have waited. If I'd have read, I'd have known that it was oncoming. So I think that's
they time those as well. And this is what you talked about when you first signed up. There's that element of I've got these credits.
Yeah.
I can buy this pack for 30,000. Is it the Palpatine pack for 30,000? I can buy a Boba Fett one for 5, which will give me 15 cards, a very small chance at a yellow.
Yeah.
And it's that balance of what you do with your credits. And that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because, like these shred packs, when I bought my Boba Fett packs earlier on and got the Boosh Bounty Hunter card, I was left 15,000. Well, I'm like, right, I'm happy, I've got that card. I'll put it down. Yeah. Whereas others will keep going and see what they come out with. Yeah. So I've got credit because I signed out at that point.
Yeah.
But then equally, it's like, do I wait till tomorrow to get my daily bonus? And do I go after one of the Palpatine packs? Or, like you said, the shred pack's just been announced.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know that at the time.
No.
You might be able to predict it based on when they've released others. So that element, I will give it credit, that's intriguing. Because there's an element of, do I go for it?
Well, this is
do I hold my
emphasis
credits
on the word collector.
Yeah.
Because it's not card collecting, it's you are a Star Wars card collector. It's putting you in the role of what if you were, and this is again going back to the firm. You are, what do you do with your money? Where do you invest it? Do you invest in that pack where you've got a really strong chance of getting this card, or do you wait on the chance that this one will come up where you might have a 10% chance of getting that card? But if you get that card, you could certainly trade it for more than the card you get in a Palpatine pack. Like right now, I could probably trade that Bounty Hunter card for a couple of yellows. Because statistically, the yellows might be rare, but they can always drop. But the Bounty Hunter card won't drop beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
So you always get these kind of backwards and forwards bits. But like I said, I absolutely cannot criticise the game for its depth. I think it's something that if you sit and spend time, which Gav has, Gav has got a really good understanding of the app and the communities, and he's gone into trying to work out how to get it. And he said he's now just going after the golds and the yellows, because he's done, as far as he said, he's done with the blues and reds and whites. He's only been playing it a week and a half.
That gets weird for me is once you've unlocked those achievements, do you keep the cards or do you move them?
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of keeping that collection together.
Yeah. It'd be nice if you could archive it and lock it off. Because you can only lock, I think, 15 cards.
25, I think.
That you won't be asked if you can trade. But it would be nice, if you could go, right, okay, as part of your achievement, it should maybe take those cards out of the app.
Yeah. Move that, archive those off. Keep your duplicates, because then you can trade them on or
have a trading pile and then have your other side.
That was something I highlighted, and again, I still wish we had last week. Is I'd like to have that trading pile.
Yeah,
you got it with the FIFA and NHL, the HUT Ultimate Team stuff. You could have a trading pile.
Well, I think I started to show this last week about the you can see what people have got that are duplicates.
Yeah, you can, but it feels, I don't know. There's something slightly awkward about it.
With mine now, whenever I do a trade, it just shows me duplicates of each.
I filtered mine.
It, so I'm only looking at the duplicates that the people have got as well. So I'm not asking for something they've only got one of.
Yeah.
So I think if I ask for this, they've got to do. So I know I'm asking for something.
Mine's filtered the same. There's just something about it that still feels a little.
Yeah. What I quite like is a matchmaking thing.
Yeah.
So you go, got this, want that, put it out, and if somebody else has got this and want that, it automatically pair you up.
Right. So you're saying willing to give this, want that.
Yeah.
Right. I follow.
If it matches you up with somebody who's got what you want and wants what you've got, it automatically sends you the trade option. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, because the inbuilt trade stuff is kind of, I want this, I'll give him that, and then it will try and look for people in a similar boat.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's kind of falling down for me at the
What it
moment.
needs to do is throw them up in the air and then see if somebody comes down on your side.
Yeah.
If it could do that, then that would be almost seamless then, because you wouldn't need the community. And it would make it a lot easier to just find randomly that person who wants exactly the same trade as you. And it wouldn't be difficult. If it was just a 1-for-1, like a red for red or a blue for blue, you haven't got to worry about the economics of how many blues is a red worth.
Yeah.
Or how many reds is a gold worth, or whatever. Because people do it, they get so hepped up by it. They're like, how dare you only offer me 5 blues for my red?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah.
You've got 5 blues there. Okay, you might have 3 of them, but you still got 2 new cards for your
And
one
you can pass
duplicate.
on the other 3 to somebody else.
Yeah, so I would like to see that implemented, and it may do. I mean, they're changing little things all the way through. They keep adding new content, and I think this is going to run easily until the new film.
Oh, yeah.
And beyond, hopefully.
Well, with the original series, the new trilogy, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars, games, old arts, because they did some old art cards, scenes, quotes, bounty hunters, and all this and all that. And they could just keep chucking out new sets of cards.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a very good app. And Ian from the 2-player cast did say he was playing it because he heard me going on about it on the show last week. So thanks for that, Ian. I like to know that I go on about things.
You do sometimes.
Well, life balanced out because I've seen his wife with giant googly eyes on her boobs now.
Yeah.
So, everything works out in the end. I might go on about it. He's clearly got... I mean, that giant googly eyes, you probably haven't seen the picture, but they're like this big for googly eyes. There's no neat reason for those to exist. They must be off like a lorry or something.
Well,
but there we go. Mass Effect, how are you getting on with this? Because my Doritos are going out of date and I need to make a nacho hat. How are you getting on?
I'm about another hour and a half in, so 3-4 hours in total. But I saved Grissom Academy this time, which I didn't do the first time I played it.
Is that the one where there's the people who are
It's
like
where
the
Jack is.
Yeah.
I don't care about spoilers, it's been out long enough.
No, yeah.
It's where Jack's gone to teach other Bartics.
I
On
remember that now.
the first playthrough, I didn't go there. I think I went off to do something else, and then because the update's going, it's been lost. So this time I went to go and get that one, which is part of the beauty of playing it through again.
Yeah.
Because I've already now got a slightly different story to the first time I played it.
Absolutely.
So happy days on that front. But yeah, I shall continue to soldier on when I have the time to.
And we will get this nacho hat made.
Get this nacho hat made.
I think what we might have to do is do this as a nacho hat presentation ceremony at a barbecue at your place.
Oh.
I think that'd be the
It's
appropriate
like
one.
like a foodie unboxing ceremony.
Well, I've been working on designs for it, basically using a normal hat as a frame,
Right.
and then that should come out once it's set.
Yep.
But I'm trying to find a hat which I can make a guacamole bowl or
Right.
a dip bowl in the top of it, so you can do a proper break a bit off, dip it in top
Yep.
of that, and eat it.
So it's almost like Walter White's hat from Breaking Bad, but with
Kind
a
of like
bigger
that,
lip.
but with a bigger lip.
Like
and-
moulds,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I'm designing at the moment for Emma. And like I said, if you can get all these finished before the summer, we'll have like a Holocaust back in the game barbecue.
Yeah.
Or barbecue in the game. But where we won't barbecue games. And we'll have a random discussion around the table. Perhaps Emma could join in on that episode. And we will present her with her hat.
Yeah.
Once you've finally finished your 4 in February.
Yeah. We didn't say which February I'd finished then.
No, but you've got until August. So
That's not February, it's August.
yeah, well, you're the one who couldn't finish it in time.
Oh.
Anyway, speaking of your girlfriend, my girlfriend has been supplying us with some features.
She has.
Because being the lovely lady she is, and she really isn't, I've spoken about this before on the show, blah, 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 blah. She's really not into games at all. But sometimes she'll see something come up on her news app and it'll make her think, I wonder if you've seen this. And this story came about a Guild Wars 2 player,
Yeah.
Darkside, which, if you're going to be a hacker, that's the perfect name for you,
It is.
isn't it? Just like, something, Darkside. So he was basically going around and he was doing huge amounts of damage, not taking any damage, he was jumping around all over the place.
Isn't he respawning extremely quickly as well?
Yeah, and he could teleport around. I mean, basically, he was a god among men. And he was dominating everything, and people were complaining.
Yep.
So ArenaNet, who made it, decided that after there was all these video evidence and they'd gathered enough to know that this guy was definitely up to no good, they took control of his character, they stripped him down to his underpants,
Yep.
they walked him to the top of a cliff, and with a crowd gathered to witness it, they executed him live in game.
Yep.
And then banned the player for life.
They did. They deleted his character and so forth.
Which is just brilliant. I mean, of all the ways to deal with it, it's just like, okay, he's annoyed people, let's make a point. I mean, it could have just gone, banned.
Yeah.
And, that would have been enough. But it's like when, do you remember when, I think it was Xbox did it, but people had used game saves to boost the gamer score, and Microsoft changed it to all the game tags to Cheaty McCheat.
I don't remember that.
I'm sure it was on Microsoft. It was one platform. I'm pretty sure it was the Xbox. If you used like a game save,
yeah,
they'd know because obviously you'd got all the achievements, like 50-hour achievement instantly. So they went through and they renamed these people because there's a thing like if you put something in your profile that's not allowed, it changes it to terms of service.
Yeah.
So they just had a thing where people were called Cheaty McCheat and just changed their profile to say that their game score was going to void because they're cheaters. So that was quite good. You get some people that get... I remember reading about one game where the character was allowed to carry on, but he couldn't fight, and the only noise he could make were chicken noises. It's just... I like those sort of ways, like dealing with it in a more imaginative way than just going, well, you banned.
Yeah.
Like, make it something to say, all right, community, you really want something sorted. Okay, how about we humiliate him by walking around his underpants and walking off a cliff? And it certainly worked. Now with Michael Gove as Minister of Justice, maybe that's what he'll start saying for everybody. Just people with strips of the pants and had to walk off the white cliffs of Dover off a beachy head.
He has professed his interest in capital punishment before.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. He's a slack-jawed twat.
So, Lego Dimensions has excited you this week.
Yeah, Lego Dimensions. This is my feature.
It is.
Which I'm called Lego Dimensions. Who are they aiming it at? Because clearly it's me, specifically me.
It does seem
because
that way.
Some of my favourite things in the world are Doctor Who, Portal, Wizard of Oz, The Simpsons, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and Scooby-Doo. And so far, the announced packs are all of those things.
They are. Which
is a bit weird because, I mean, I can understand, like, The Simpsons, because The Simpsons Lego has been a big thing recently. Ninjago's in there, which is a big thing. Lego Jurassic World, I get because it's a new thing. But The Wizard of Oz is based on the 1939 classic movie with Judy Garland. Back to the Future, okay, it's got its anniversary of the 2015 From thing this year. But this is still an 80s film.
Yeah.
Turtles is aimed... people who really like Turtles, they were people who watched it in the 90s. Scooby-Doo, the same. Portal is aimed at... I mean, I'm sure that's a 16 rated game.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I would say it's aimed at that sort of player, if not necessarily a rating, but it's certainly the maturity needed to appreciate the storyline.
Yeah.
So that's there. Again with Doctor Who, this is not aimed at the 7-year-old market. This is not a Skylanders for Lego. This is that is a huge market.
This is, I would say, I'd probably agree it's not 7-year-olds, but young teens as well. And
would they
into
play
adults.
Portal 2?
Probably not, but Doctor Who, Simpsons, Jurassic World.
Yeah, but would they have watched Marge vs. Amara where it was first on telly?
Probably not, but they'll have watched whatever episode of Simpsons was on the 70s.
I don't care whether they've watched it. It's not for them. They can't have it. It's mine. It's all mine. Lego have been going in my head in the night and watching what I want. The thing is, what I like about it is I could see myself buying this for me. Like, take my kids out of the equation entirely, not kill them. I'm not giving you that instruction, but if they're and the fun packs are great as well because you just get you just had the image up there.
Yeah,
but you get like a character from Lord of the Rings and maybe a thing that goes with it. So you've got kind of the Gollum and the Shelob, and stuff like that. I mean, they're nice little things. They just get all these weird elements you can mix together into the game. It's clearly trying to say, you know what, Skylanders is brilliant, but anybody over 10 isn't really going to get much from this game. Disney Infinity is good, but anybody over 12 is going to get much from this game. Lego is aimed at people who are kids, but adults go out and pay a lot of money for Lego kits. And I think they've realised that and said, you know what, Lego is, I think it's $3 to $99 on the box usually, isn't it? for the regular Lego.
Yeah.
I think this clearly states, actually, why not go for that 20-plus market of people who really like Lego and have these consoles and give them something they can play with their kids if they've got them, but if not, there's a set there for them. If you just got the Portal set and maybe some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, you could justifiably say that's not a kids' game anymore.
Maybe.
If you just went for like Simpsons and Turtles and a bit of Wizard of Oz, you could easily say that's a good family title. But it all depends on how the Portal stuff's handled. Because if the Portal's got a cynical GLaDOS as an omnipresent threat...
Well, Portal's the one that stands separate in this, because all the others have got action figures and so forth already.
Yeah.
So Portal's the one that stands apart in this.
And Portal's the big surprise. Because there's no reason for it. Do you know what it makes me think? Because they also announced this week that Zen Pinball are going to put a Portal 2 table into Pinball FX 2.
Oh.
It makes me wonder whether we're going to get a Portal 3 announcement at E3. Because there's a big push for marketing and pushing this through to say, actually, there's a new generation that comes through. Now, not wanting to jump into the news too much, but we've seen this before. Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition came out when they announced they're working on a new one. Because it gives you that stopgap. The same happened with Devil May Cry Definitive. They're like, well, we're going to be doing a new one, but in the meantime, here's a polished up version of the last one. Are we seeing Portal 2 becoming more pop culture friendly because they want to bring out something new? Because
maybe
it doesn't make sense for any other reason. They're not going to be able to sell any more copies of Portal 2 than they've already sold. Because it's if you know games and you're into Portal, you'd have played it.
Or is this a way to reach a new audience?
Or is it a way to sell Lego figures of Shell from Portal to people who love to have a Lego figure of Shell from Portal? And a Lego companion cube and a Lego turret. I mean, they release those turrets in collection boxes.
So it kind of ticks a lot of boxes then. It ticks the adult market, because as we play Portal, we love it. Everybody kind of loves the ideas around it. The companion cubes are iconic. And this also taps into the kid-friendly market because it's Lego. Yeah. So even if it had that slightly cynical GLaDOS edge, because it's Lego Dimensions, it's not going to be as bleak as the full game. So it's
how brilliant it'd be if it was. If it just suddenly turned around and went, how old
But this is kind of like... I know we've had this discussion before about adult-rated games with kids' toys sat next to it. Gears of War was my example at the time.
With Meccano, wasn't it? That they did for that?
Yeah, all the action figures. So whether this is the same principle, this is Portal. This is the kid-friendly introduction to Portal. And then as they get a bit older, they want to play the game.
Yeah.
So you've suddenly got... And you may well be right. This may be leading towards a Portal 3.
Portal 3, could you imagine?
Because...
Could you imagine how annoyed the Half-Life fans would be? Hang on, Portal 3?
Right.
There was only a buffer pack for the orange box. He's scouting a third game before that.
By the way, there's Team Fortress 3 as well.
Portal 2 Episode 1. It will only be 2 episodes before they forget that number 3 exists. Because Valve do seem to have an issue with that. But yeah, it stands out because it just seems like they're going for this popular, meme-friendly internet culture game. And I think it's a very savvy move. Because they didn't need to. They could have literally just gone, here's Lego Movie, Lego Lord of the Rings, Lego Batman. All these games we've already put out mixed into one game. They didn't need to add anything else. But what they're adding shows a real kind of desire to draw people in. Imagine when they add Lego Ghostbusters in. Because we've had the Ghostbusters vehicle released. Lego Ghostbusters game, that would be hard to stretch over 30 hours. Yeah. But in this, you could do a 2-3 hour campaign. And it could be amazing. Just playing certain segments of that film in Lego form would be brilliant. And they wouldn't have to put the effort into making this huge, great epic, because you just have these little tastes. It could just be one major set piece. It could be taking down Slimer in the Sedgwick or, whatever. And bam, there you are. There's your level pack. And people would buy it because it's Ghostbusters. And there's a new Ghostbusters film on the way. It's Lego are going to make so much money from this.
Do you know what I was quite talking about Ghostbusters? Take off a tangent. One of my other lives, I work for InGoal magazine.
Okay.
Which is ice hockey goaltending. Just dedicated to that. And Cam Talbot, one of the New York Rangers goalies...
Has that ever been featured on Have I Got News For You as one of their headline rounds?
No. Surprisingly not. I might have to have a word with Kev, the editor, about that. But yeah, Cam Talbot, the New York Rangers goalie, he's had Ghostbusters themed goalie mask before. His new one is Slimer.
Okay.
Now, he's changed Slimer from green to blue because it's New York Rangers, they're blue and red.
Right.
But what I thought was quite cool is that his eyes and teeth and the ghost from the Ghostbusters logo, which is on the chin cup, glow in the dark. Which I thought was quite
Does it
cool.
get very dark in a hockey rink?
Well, and they turn the lights off to the introductions.
for the multi-ball rounds.
Yeah.
All
Or
the lights
like
go
when the
off.
NHL came to London in 2007 and they dimmed the lights down, all the players skated out, everybody cheered, and then the lights wouldn't come back on. So I thought that was the most,
Everybody thought it was
the most-
Starlight Express.
the most British hockey thing possible. We'll get the NHL here, and then the lights fail. Shit. So, but no, I thought that was quite a cool design. He's done Ghostbusters ones before, and they're all quite cool.
Well, very good then. Fallout 4.
Yeah.
It's looking like we're definitely going to see E3.
Does
or at least
seem-
some people will see it at E3. We might see a trailer at E3.
Yeah, I would be happy with the trailer.
I want a trailer.
I would be perfectly
Every time
happy
they've
with
done
the
a
trailer.
reveal trailer, it's always been glorious as
It
well.
has.
Like I was reading that somebody complained that this wasn't going to be in-game footage as a trailer. I was
I
like,
don't
they've
give a
never
shit.
done in-game footage as a trailer.
No.
It's set in the tone and the set and
Yeah.
where it is located. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
And all
Fallout-
I want is some music body ink spots, Ron Perlman's voice, and some animated gubbins.
Yeah, because
Doing
Fallout
this.
3 went from the radio in the bus
Out to see
out
the
through the
Ranger.
bus. You
The-
saw down...
the Brother of the Steel bloke, weren't it?
Yeah, the brothers. So you saw down to the spire in Washington. Washington? No, it's not the Washington Monument, is it?
No, that's a
Yeah,
dark thing.
I've
but-
completely forgotten what the actual
I'm-
name is. I
Well,
feel really
any
bad.
American listeners can email us.
Yeah.
But if not, that thing that was then used as a photo in anti-terrorism news stories where they went, look, this will be the outcome of nuclear war.
But yeah, so that was great. Just the way it panned out slowly down the street with, as you said, the Brotherhood of Steel trooper and looking down like that. And then the New Vegas one was the
iBot
yeah,
going down
buried.
the road
Yeah.
and getting shot by a sniper up on a gate above the New Vegas sign.
They had one before that, a real short teaser. Was it something was buried in the desert? It was only like a 10, 15 second.
I remember something else like music related.
And that that kind of appeared out of nowhere. All of a sudden, like being Fallout New Vegas.
Because it was quite quick, wasn't it? There was like 2 years between them.
Oh yeah,
So I think it
turned
was,
around
it was a
quick.
genuine surprise as well. Whereas this one, we've now been waiting a long.
Yeah.
It's 2010, I think.
Because New Vegas literally just there wasn't even, I don't remember there even been a hint of this coming.
No.
It was like Fallout 3, brilliant. The DLC, the last DLC hadn't been that long.
Well, that's the advantage of having two people making a game. Like, because
And
that was
also-
BlackRock, wasn't it? I think made New Vegas.
Yes.
So they were working out while the other team was still working on Fallout 3, which is quite a handy way of doing it. You've got a game engine and you just make your own game. And
And then, it just turned up, blam. I'm like, ooh.
for this one, we've got Guillermo del Toro's little animation company are working on it, which is exciting because they did the quite cool animated prologue to Pacific Rim.
Yes.
Where it explained about the portal and the monsters and stuff. And that was quite cool. They also did a Katy Perry music video, and they've done Mario Kart 8 trailers and stuff like that. So they know what they're doing. It only showed up because somebody had put it on their CV online.
Yeah.
Which so very often now is the way to release information about games. Like, oh, there's this game, and nobody can talk about it. I'll just update my LinkedIn profile. Worked on Fallout 4 trailer. Oh no!
What
And
was
the thing
that?
is, that guy is probably going to be an absolute haul through the coals for him. But he's done nothing wrong. We know it's coming. It's just nice to know that we're going to get something that's well made rather than just something very like a logo.
Yeah.
Because it could have been. And that almost would have been enough anyway. If it was just a black screen, war never changes, Fallout 4, October 2015. I'll keep going October. I want it to be October so bad, but it won't be. But if it did that...
New
that'd be
Vegas
enough.
came quick. This was the whole New Vegas thing.
Yeah.
The teaser came, the trailer came, the game came in pretty quick succession.
We've known this. I mean, they scanned Boston, I think, 4 years ago. They measured and
about
scanned
that,
it.
yeah.
And since then, there's been trademarks, there's been fake sites. It's just so hard, and you sometimes wonder whether half these fake things are deliberate to kind of go, "Oh, everybody's excited. Oh, it wasn't actually real," because they don't need to reveal anything. Then it just keeps people talking about Fallout 4.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited about that. Almost as excited. but not quite as excited, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which is what was Assassin's Creed Victory.
Yep.
The one set in Victorian London. It was revealed today, officially. We both watched the trailer now.
Mm-hmm.
London looks gloriously dirty and
Victorian-y.
but not very Assassin's Creed-y. Because
No.
it's a bit too metropolitan now. I think it worked when there was not many vehicles and trains and things in the streets. It just seems the setting's going to be a tricky one now.
See, I fell out of love with the Assassin's Creed series at Assassin's Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of hours in and I just got bored shitless.
It's a terrible... once you stop being Latham, because that's quite exciting in the theatre and then on the boat, and then you're suddenly this precocious git of a kid walking around in the snow. And
See, I don't think I've even got... I was still must be Latham, middle-aged-ish man.
Yeah.
I think I accidentally killed George Washington, apparently. And that was the end.
Killed him.
And there was no discernible way to tell the difference between him and any other thing. It's just a guy in a wig. I think I accidentally pushed A instead of something else to dodge out of the way into a bush. You've killed George Washington, game over. And I'm just like, really? I've just snuck around for that and accidentally killed George Washington. What? And just showing you
Gav has completed the set of vintage Star Wars cards.
Good for Gav. but yeah, I just kind of fell out of love with it. I was borderline anyway, and I was just like, I'm going to play something else now.
Yeah.
So I did. I did download Black Flag, Games with Gold, to give it another chance.
Right.
So I'll give Black Flag a go and see how I find it.
Black Flag's good, but again, the issue I have with Black Flag is it would have been better if it was an Assassin's Creed game. If you were just playing it as a pirate. If it was Piratey Bob, the video game, it'd be great. But the problem is it's this kind of extended outside of the main game story. With Black Flag, you're working for the Animus company.
See, that bit always...
and you're basically...
bullshit.
The Animus is now almost like the better-than-life machine in Red Dwarf. So you can go in and experience the past. So it's like a video game. You're making a video game. So it's a bit of a weird one. It's kind of a bit self-referential.
The Animus... That was part of the problem with the Animus stuff as well. I was just like, what? I don't care about this bit.
No, you want to play the adventure, and that's...
Let me play as Altair, let me play as Ezio, let me just get on with it.
With Black Flag, I've very often avoided story missions just so I can sail around sinking ships and killing people.
But I'll give Black Flag a go. But the trailer raised a little bit of interest. So maybe I'll give Black Flag a go, and if that sufficiently draws me back in by the time Syndicate comes around, I might give it a go. Yeah. Because I actually quite like the idea of being able to jump on top of trains and move around.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I remember speaking to a guy who was working on Assassin's Creed years ago, and he was talking to me about I was talking to him about research, the history, because I wanted to know how accurate the Assassin's Creed games were. Because I basically had a little look at, and it was based on Assassin's Creed 2, the people who you assassinate in Assassin's Creed 2 were killed in the locations where they're killed in the game. So it's kind of like, we know this person died here, let's create a story around how that occurred.
Yeah.
So, like, you might assassinate somebody in a market, well, that guy was killed in a market. Or this guy was poisoned, so you have to assassinate him, and there's an option to do it like that. And I was asking about how they research these things and how accurate do they have to be, and he basically was saying, well, we've got that disclaimer. You know, these are based on real events, but it's fictional. So we can always go off. But at that point in time, he was researching Victorian England and Jack the Ripper and secret societies and things like that. So from that point on, I was like, well, what? We haven't even been announced that there's one going to be in Victorian England. And that was like 3 years ago. And then when the first screenshot showed the Industrial Revolution landscape of London, I was like, Now, this one's 1862, I think, so it's predates Jack the Ripper by about 20 years. That doesn't mean that he's not there, because, of course, Jack the Ripper ended at that point, so Jack the Ripper could still be an assassin or a Templar, which I'm still quite excited about. I love the idea of steam trains, I love the idea of the Age of Invention. The Industrial Revolution is the greatest period in British history for me. But it's also a setting I've never really explored. The closest I think I can say is Fable 2, because they said a lot of Fable 2 was based around Victorian Industrial Revolution. You've got that guy who comes up with the submarine that takes you to Clockwork Island and things like that. So I like that idea. I like the fact they could put steampunk in if they really wanted to. You're playing as a guy, I can't remember his name now, but you're playing a guy and his sister across the course of the campaign. So that addresses the criticisms of the last game, which you couldn't have a female playable character, even though the PS Vita version and then the Xbox Live Arcade version of Liberty had a female one, and the Assassin's Creed Chronicles has got a female assassin in China. So it has been done, but this one does seem to be back streets of London, butcher boys, gangs, coal and steam and dirt and grime, and take away the Assassin's Creed stuff. I just want to play that game. The trailer got me very excited. It had the elements of Unity that I liked in terms of encouraging you to be part of a revolution. Yeah. But instead of it being the poor rise up against the upper class, this is the working class who are firing a whole period of change in the country, coming up against these people who are just wielding all the power and all the money. So there's a lot to it that could be very good. Now, if you pre-order it, there is talk of a mission that deals with Charles Darwin, and I think it's Charles Darwin and Charles Dickens. It is, which is also quite exciting because that's, you could do anything. You could do a Christmas Carol if they wanted to, or Tale of Two Cities or whatever, or you could do a mission and go out on the Beagle with Charles Darwin. So, and of course, the Charles Darwin thing, if you've seen Pirates and Adventure of a Scientist, you know that from that storyline, the talk about Queen Victoria and Pirates, or Queen Victoria was after Pirates, which would fit in with Black Flag, if you've got down the line, because she was hunting those down. You've got the societies that were being set up for eating rare and exotic animals. You've got all these kind of buildings where people will start to go in and go, okay, well, we'll do this and we'll do that. And this syndicate thing seems to be setting up who is in charge, who is running the empire. And that's quite a big, bold thing. But then also, I really like games set in Britain. They don't happen often. Now, Zombie U was the last one I can really think of that was a proper British setting. And that was a zombie game set on and around London. And I absolutely loved it. I really loved it. The Getaway on PS2 was GTA London, but in a more recognisable London, because it had Royal Mail vans and I think it had Greg's Bakers. It had some sort of bakery type place that I recognised. And it was just weird because you could say, oh, I know that building, I know this, and if I go down there, I've seen this in loads of films that they do this, and it felt like being an episode of The Bill. So to go and play a game in that setting, sometimes I think with Assassin's Creed I can allow a lot because the exploration of some of those cities is just enough. And I think people are too critical of the franchise for trying to do different things rather than just play out the same game. Call of Duty, they sell huge amounts and they don't need to change formula too much. Assassin's Creed could have done that. They could have literally just gone, okay, it's Desmond on the outside and you're an assassin on the inside. Desmond on the outside, assassin inside, all the way through. And they didn't. They capped that at 3 and then we're in a position of, do we continue? And if we continue, how do we keep that going? And what they tried didn't necessarily hit too well, but I think longer term it's got potential. So, I'm quite excited for that, but I've got a feeling there'll be something that you're more excited for on the horizon.
Well, the new Destiny DLC comes out next week, which we've spoken about a little bit.
House of the Wolves?
Yep. So that's out next Tuesday, the 19th. But we've also, kind of started to see a few speculative reports about the expansion pack.
Which was codenamed Comet.
Yes, but it looks like it's going to be called The Taken King.
Liam Neeson.
Apparently so.
Taken King.
Yeah. So, there are references to Oryx, who was the father of Crota.
He was that big bastard.
And the Crota's End Raid, from the Dark Below. So there's references to that.
I still can't play any of that. I'm not on high enough level.
Oh.
My fault.
So anyway, this is, as most people or several people have termed it, Destiny 1.5, because it's actual... I quite like the way one person puts it. It's an proper expansion pack, whereas the Dark Below and House of Wolves were side missions and add-ons to existing modes. But Prison of Elders obviously introduced that horde mode type system, but effectively it's building on what's there. Whereas this is theoretically the 0.5. And it's really the first major move along on this. Well, they said it was going to be a 10-year game when Bungie brought it out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how it pans out. As we said, there's suggestions it will relate to Oryx because we've seen a logo. It's got sort of Hive-esque logo feeling to it. So we shall see, I'm sure, as time passes. But if there's hopefully a bundle which will include the existing DLC and the Taken King and the game, so you literally have a Destiny 1.5 in a box.
A definitive edition almost.
Exactly. Then that will probably stir my interest a great deal. So I'm interested to see what comes of this. As you said, it's
timing quite nicely with you getting the Xbox One.
Hopefully.
So you wouldn't have to re-buy the content separately, which is
that's
quite
one thing. Which makes me wonder. But as you said, it's been under the working title of Comet, which I know a lot of people have been eyeing up speculatively for a while now, since the apparent Destiny schedule was leaked a few months ago.
Yeah,
people have been looking to Comet to see what it might bring.
I've been looking into the publishing deal that Activision have got with Bungie, and the deal is they have a boxed release every other year.
Right.
So 1 year they have a full title. The next year they have expansion for that.
Yep.
The year after that, a full sequel, and then the year after that, another. So they can do that. So it looks like they've already stated they want to put more planets in. So it could be that the full next boxed game could be Destiny 2, but maybe it's Destiny 2 that takes on all the previous content. A bit like I said, with a true expansion pack. Because that's the thing. A lot of people look at DLC as an expansion pack. Well, a lot of them aren't expansions.
No.
They're just additional content. And I think the expansions are very PC thing. If you look at Command & Conquer, the very first one of those had an expansion. It was a genuine expansion. It gave huge amounts of new vehicles and new units and new areas and maps. And I think people get used to this idea of DLC just being an expansion pack, but they forget that the expansion pack can't just be supplementing something that already exists. It has to be something that extends everything.
Yeah, because that's what you've got, or basically you've covered. The Dark Below had story missions on existing terrain, Earth, the Moon. Maps were added pretty much to the same. There was one added to Mercury, so that was new. That was only a multiplayer map.
Yeah,
it didn't only opened up quite a small map. I like the map, but it's not a massive map. So it's opened up a small area of another planet, which is great. The House of Wolves will expand. Was it the Reach? Mine's gone blank. The Reef, sorry. And a mind blank. The Reef. But again, that's an existing area within the game.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you'll be hunting fallen on existing planets.
Yeah.
So it's not really building massively on what's there.
No. I mean, again, the big focus of that is the new multiplayer modes.
Yep, exactly.
So whereas this is...
This could add Mercury properly. It could add Jupiter, Saturn, moons like Titan and Io. And
I'd quite like a mission where you just have to hop from asteroid to asteroid all the way around the asteroid belt. No combat.
No.
Just that.
Like a weird Mario Kart race.
That Shadows of the Empire mission where you had to go through the asteroid field and just shoot them all. And it played that music from the...
Flight the Bumblebee?
No, the asteroid music from Star Wars. Where they were shooting them and it's and they were going and TIE fighters hitting them all, and that'd be quite good. Piloting your ship, I'd like that as well. Pilot my own ship.
I don't
want to fight. I just want to be able to fly around.
Yeah.
Just go.
I'd rather than watch the bloody cutscene every time.
Yeah, I'd like to fly from that planet to that planet. Just give me that option. If you're going to make me wait 5 minutes, I might as well fly it myself.
Yeah, well, no,
that's what it comes down to.
But yeah,
give me something to control.
It's the Taken King seems to be the actual name rather than the working title.
I'm wondering whether this is something like it's going to be the Awakening or something, because it's got that kind of. There's something about it. I don't know if the Taken King feels like it's a good title, but it just feels like it might be setting up something else.
So this is the middle chapter with the third act, the big showdown at the end. So it could well, as people suggested, tie into this character Oryx, and it is the Awakening, and then it's the big showdown in a few years' time.
Yeah,
kind of the Destiny version of Infinity Wars,
which I quite like. And it's the thing, like the new content has got me excited for going back to Destiny, because I like the idea of the Prison of Elders.
Prison of Elders.
I quite like the idea of that, because I think it would give me a reason to play on a platform that I can play on. And I watched the Twitch reveal of it, and it did seem exactly the sort of thing I want to play. The some of the areas inside are just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Really well designed. The House of the Trials of Anubis thing, I'll stay well away from that. That's not for me. That's clearly for people who really, really like playing the multiplayer PvP stuff.
Yeah.
It's not me.
I will probably, hopefully with the flares, we'll probably end up giving it a go.
Yeah.
How much we play it, I suppose, depends on the experience. Because
I mean, you play weekly, so if anybody's going to go out, like you said, you've tried Iron Manor a bit, you've gone for some of the big raids. You know, it's kind of pitch that you might be something you can do all right at. But for me, I mean, there's no chance. I can't even play the Crota stuff because I'm not high enough level. I need to go back and play it and go through. But like I say, it's demanding of my time. And I completed the Mars set, all but the very final mission, and I didn't get to the level where I could take on the Crota missions, which seemed crazy to me that I could complete the story and then not play the extended story without then grinding more and more.
An issue a lot of people had is they'd finish a story and then they couldn't get in the Vault of Glass.
Yeah.
Which was the raid it came with, it shipped with initially.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, why get people to this sort of faux end game and then kind of lock them out of the next big thing that you've locked away behind this level cap anyway.
I've got to go back and grind to get to the next section. So I was hoping the next kind of download as such, that online stuff might bring me in enough and give me something I can grind on but enjoy grinding on.
Yeah. So that's one advantage I found because I've obviously started with the Hunter, and I've since then done a Warlock and a Titan.
Yeah.
And they're all at least level 30 now. And again, it is a grind, but the other thing you find is, especially with the app now, where you can more easily move materials between characters that you've collected, if you have a regular fire team, you can do Vanguard playlists, weekly strikes, all this sort of stuff. You can get materials, you can get Vanguard marks to go and buy legendary armour. And of course, once you've got that legendary armour, it advances you that bit further. And then you can go and do the Vault of Glass and advance with the raid armour you get from there. And then you can go and do Crota and get from there. And once you've got that fire team in place, the other dominoes start to fall more easily.
Yeah.
And you can start collecting this stuff. But on your own, it's a hell of a slog. And we talked about it before, I very nearly traded it in until obviously I teamed it with Synaptic Flare and Digital Flare, and we had our little trio. And that saved the game for me. Yeah. Because I would have probably, like you, either traded it in or just left it on a shelf going to invest.
Trade it in and then buy a limited edition. Like I did, just to get the season pass and then be able to justify it by going, well, it comes free with it. But
yeah, that finding that little fire team of friends revolutionised the game for me.
Yeah.
And it's probably really what it's all about in the first place, which is the difficult part. But yeah, House of Wolves next week, and that's definitely been a long time coming. I'm be keen to get hold of that. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, and as we talked about earlier, definitive editions. We've got two that have been sort of almost revealed, not officially revealed, but they looking like they're very much on the way. With Gears of War, which we've already talked about, but has now been named the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which I was still hoping for the Epic Edition, but I guess now that Epic Games aren't making it, they want to get away from that. With completely newly generated cutscenes and awesome stuff left, right and centre. So, yeah, can't play that. And Dishonored getting a definitive edition, which I will admit did surprise me a little bit. It's a very, very good game, but obviously now we've got a sequel on the way, so they want to wake people up to it and get them in. But both of them, I mean, they're astonishingly good games and deserve to be on the Xbox One. And in lieu of being able to play older games, if they bring them out about 20-25 quid, I should get both of them again easy. And Gears of War is a gimme.
Yes,
that's absolutely going in. The rumour I heard about that the other day was there was going to be a 4-player co-op mode on this one, because it was 2
on the original Gears, and so then Gears 3 could be up to 4.
Yeah, so they want to put a 4-player co-op mode on Gears 1, which would be very helpful on the final fight against Ram, because that was a poor leg. I did that on Insane with Eddie, who's a long-time listener of the old ones. and we spent 6 hours on that one fight.
Really? Crikey.
To do it on the Insane, because we had the entire game on Insane. The two bits
Emma
that
and I
gave us,
did, yeah.
the two bits that gave us trouble were the tank with the solar light thing,
Yep.
and the general round one. It's any time the crew were involved, just absolute ball ache.
Yep.
Because you just made one mistake and it's gone.
I think Emma and I finished Gears 1 on Insane, I think. Gears 2, I'm not sure we finished on Insane. I think we did like maybe 2 levels on 3.
Yeah.
Insane, but it's a shame because we did used to enjoy this quite a lot. Maybe we'll have to go back to it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I said I'd quite happily play through the whole trilogy again because they were very, very good and enjoyable games. Well,
that's the news.
That's the news. So, what isn't news, but is now a bit of a feature leading into what you're going to be talking about. Is it Play Arts? I can't remember now. I'm sure it was Play Arts. Play Arts Kai has shown off some, a figure in particular from Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yes.
This is Qwertee,
Yep.
who comes in a relatively skimpy outfit, which is befitting a Metal Gear Solid female character. Interchangeable head, one of which makes her look like she's been abused and has been crying. Very vulnerable, very chesty. But with one unique figure I've not really seen on these collectible figurines before, where you can actually just play with her boobs and squeeze them together and have a little fondle and a grope if you want, make them squeeze together nicely. And the quote, officially, I don't know if the quote is on here, but there we go, yeah. It's soft materials allowed for it to be pushed and lifted, lol.
Yeah.
Which is Hideo Kojima himself saying this. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like this franchise has shied away from it, and Kojima himself has never shied away from the sexuality of the females in his games. However, and this is where the crux of my article comes in, is at what point do we want people to take gaming seriously? Our action figures having realistic moving tits that we can squeeze together and laugh about on Twitter, is it going to help us get taken more seriously?
See, this is where not only is there a breakdown in the images of female characters in games, which is something that a lot of discussion has been had over in the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
More, to be fair. So there's that element of it, but there's also the difference between what Western gamers find acceptable and the Japanese market.
Yeah,
I think that is partly where things come into play here, because these kind of figures are not uncommon in the Japanese marketplace.
No.
They are collectible figures. They are often made of the same sort of materials this Qwertee figure has been made, the PVC, and a lot of them are suggestible poses, air quotes, of female characters, and they're more collectibles than action figures. So this isn't necessarily uncommon in that market. But Metal Gear Solid crosses a lot of boundaries. It's a global game.
Okay, well, I'm going to now counter that with what Kojima officially said about this specific character. Now, he described Qwertee as being designed to be sexy so that people want to cosplay her as her, and to ensure that the figurine sells well.
But again,
there's a cynicism there that sort of suggests, well, sex definitely sells.
Well, is there an argument
there,
right or wrong?
Yeah. But if that's the point, what we're saying is that a lot of gamers are clearly dragging their knuckles along the floor, and when they're not dragging their knuckles along the floor, they're pumping them up
PVC
and down.
tits.
Yeah, pumping up and down their cock while squeezing a 7-inch tall woman. And it's that image that I kind of...
But this is the thing, this is what I'm getting at. This is derived effectively from a Japanese game, albeit one which is extremely popular around the world. So the kind of the subculture that exists under it derives from the same place. The problem is, Metal Gear Solid, as I said, is hugely popular around the world. And the morality is very different between what we are okay with and what they are okay with. And you see things like Dead or Alive. We spoke about it a few episodes ago.
Well, the woman who's done the motion capture for the character, she's a Dutch actress called Stephanie Houston, and she found the design unexpected. I'm going to now read what she said in a slight Dutch accent.
Okay.
She went, of course I was surprised to see Qwertee fitted first, but you know, it fits in the Metal Gear universe. I don't think I'm allowed to say a lot about this, but, well, Mr. Kojima has his reasons for deciding while Quiet's wearing what she's wearing. Players will just have to look forward to that.
So she won't say anything because she won't get paid if she pisses off the
but
guy.
She's clearly not happy that she's motion captured for a character and then they're basically going, okay, we're now going to pretty much just wrap you in a couple of cloths.
But it is. And
allow you to be fondled.
It's basically a bikini and...
It makes me wonder how accurate it looks like her, because that would be quite unsettling for me if that did look exactly like me and then they'd made a model that people could grope.
But it's just... It's weird and uncomfortable, to say the least.
Stephanie Houston. Oh, she does look a lot like her, actually. Just looking. I'm not entirely sure whether the boobs are the same size, but as a person, she does look a lot like her. Yeah, she's not quite as chesty, but I mean, if you go from that face there, she's certainly based on her. That is absolute.
But yeah, it's all weird. And to me, there is a definite east-west breakdown here, because again, as I said, these figurines are commonplace, or seemingly apparently commonplace in the Japanese market.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're generally seen as acceptable for whatever reasons you want to go into. But this is a game which others do. Don't get me wrong, other Japanese games do bleed over into the global marketplace, but this is probably the biggest of all of them to do so, arguably. So obviously anything that goes alongside it, especially the way now we can get loot crates from America and so forth, you can also get these collectibles from Japan. It's all just...
Like I say, it's just because it's a thing that is popular in some part. I just, like I said, if this was... I don't know, say this was a Nigel Farage figurine, or a Nicola Sturgeon figurine, and it had fondleable tits, it would be absolute abject outrage. Nobody would say, well, that's normal in Japan. They make models like this all the time, because they don't. But it is that kind of bleeding effect where you only need one newspaper to go, oh God, look at the state of this. You know, no wonder teenagers are retreating to their bedroom and not socialising very well. Hey, Rob.
Which leads nicely on to my bit, which it was an article I saw. It was on the Guardian website by their games journalist Keith Stewart, who I quite like Keith Stewart's work. And basically the article was titled "The Cliché of Lone Male Gamer Needs to be Destroyed." Now, the reason Keith's written this is based on a new book by an American psychologist called Philip Zimbardo,
who is incredible. Do you know who he is?
No.
Have you ever seen the film The Experiment with Adrian Brody?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. It's
based on a German film called Das Experiment.
Okay.
It's based on an actual psychological thing where they put two groups of people, one prisoners and one guards. And the people who were guards started abusing the prisoners. And the people prisoners started acting more and more violently. It basically was the idea of group mentalities and a uniform empowering people. It was his idea to explain how the Nazis did what they were capable of doing. He's an incredibly well-respected man, so whatever he's got to say is going to have a lot of punch behind him as well, because he is very controversial, but brilliant. So what has he been saying?
So Philip Zimbardo, he suggests that boys are increasingly withdrawn into the lonely world of gaming. Now, there's also a few other points here. A quote from Philip Zimbardo: "Boys risk becoming addicted to porn, video games and Ritalin." So I'll read a little bit more into the article.
Well, you won't want to be addicted to porn and Ritalin. You want to enjoy it.
The video game world encourages doing and acting and not really thinking. Video gamers are not so attractive to girls. And then it starts the article. The American psychologist Philip Zimbardo has a new book out. It's called Man, Disconnected, and the dis is in brackets. How technology has sabotaged what it means to be male. Now, it's interesting because there's a few other quotes in there. This is the thing with boys, it's really getting me down because I can't think of a solution that is easy to entertain and that's easy to realise. It's painful for me because I'm an optimistic person. Boys are in a mess. And there's other quotes relating to, I don't know whether it was hobbies, the hobbies of video gaming and porn, as if porn is a hobby. And it just kind of...
Well, it's doing something with your hands.
Yeah, it just kind of started playing on these tropes that gamers just sit on their own in a darkened room, which isn't true. It's not just lonely young men or young men sitting on their own playing games on their own, just cut off from the world. Because, as Keith Stewart pointed out, you've got World of Warcraft, you've got the Monster Hunter community, you've got... Come on, the Monster Hunter community is pretty...
You're not convincing me that Monster Hunter community members aren't wankers.
Well, but the point is there's a community of people working together with each other. Pokemon as well as the trading community. We've talked about this. You're fine, you can laugh, but the point is people are interacting with each other off the back of these games. They're socialising, albeit centred around the game, but they are interacting with other gamers. It's not sitting there on their own. And again, matchmaking in things like Halo and Destiny, and we talked about the Star Wars app. You're interacting with people with the card collector game.
Yeah,
it's the idea that people are just withdrawing off into this digital world on their own, and they're not. And with the rise of mobile gaming as well, you've got whole swathes of other people playing games. And I think the last, including the mobile game, wasn't the last major study on this, found that there were more women playing than men. Only marginally more. It was like 51% to 49%, so it's not a big swing. But that was partly because you've got these mobile games. Now, that's not young males withdrawing off into the world. That's your girlfriend playing Candy Crush Saga on the sofa. It just seemed like a very easy target, in a sense, a sort of an almost tied old storyline that isn't necessarily true anymore. It just isn't true anymore. You know what? There are going to be people who have withdrawn into it. I'm not going to lie, because that happens, and other people withdraw into other things. I've done it myself in difficult times. I've sunk into holes where I'll just watch box sets of TV shows, or just do this, or just do that. It happens, but because there's this stigma attached to video games still, from some corners, and granted, what we just spoke about doesn't always help that image sometimes, but equally, the way, or the group of people, the swathes of people that are playing games now are very different. It's not just young men. It's older people, it's younger people, it's women, it's girls, it's teenagers, it's this, it's that, it's... the Wii opened up... We talked about the Wii before, it opened up the casual market, and granted, the Wii, you can sneer at its longevity, but it did open up the casual market in a way nothing else had managed to do before.
For me, as someone who has a keen interest in psychology after living with a psychology lecturer for the last 2 years, and this all sounded very familiar. While you were talking, I was looking, because I've read a few things by Zimbardo recently, predominantly the Lucifer Effect, which is good people turning evil. There was an ebook he wrote based on a TED talk he gave, which was The Demise of Guys, Why Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It, which is what led to this research. And it was an addiction to video games, online porn, and created a generation of shy, socially awkward and emotionally removed and risk-averse young men who are unable and unwilling to navigate the complexities and risks inherent to real-life relationships, school and employment. And from that, the focus of that is not so much the games, it's more... If your real world experience is limited to what you're experiencing through a device, are you learning the skills required? And I think there is a point of that that is debatable. I will never vilify video games. I think video games can be both destructive and brilliant. They can be creative and depressing, but that's part of the fact that they've matured to this thing, just as films can. You can watch a film that will leave you feeling uplifted, you can watch a film that will leave you feeling absolutely emotionally devastated. But, at the same time, I can say I know a lot of teenagers now who they go home from school, they go straight up to their room and their parents don't hear from them all day. And they're on a headset and they're talking to their friends. Now that's not the same as going around a friend's house. It's not the same as going out and kicking a ball about. Playing a game of FIFA while talking. You still have an interaction, but it's a different type of interaction.
It's hard to kick a ball about when they've built houses on the playing field, though.
I've got a nice bit of grass over here. People play football all the time.
Go on, then off you go.
I'm not a teenage boy. I don't require it. I'm having an interaction right now with you. And it's the other thing, like the last podcast I was on, I found it incredibly difficult because I was Skyping in. Like when we're doing a podcast, all three of those were sat at a table. I'm now sat with you. I can kind of go, what? And like when I was smirking at the suggestions you were giving, you could see that, you could react to that, you could bounce off of that. And my eldest, I can genuinely say, he really suffers with empathy because, unfortunately, due to his kind of home life and the challenges that he faces, he has a long bus ride to and from school. He doesn't have a lot of the social stuff that he perhaps should have. So he's kind of now doing things like cadets and stuff like that to give him a bit more of that. But he does suffer. Like we watched the Fast and Furious film. And we were talking about Paul Walker, and he's like, I don't get why people were sad by that. I was like, well, it's sad when you've watched a series of films for 10 years and one of those actors has died. You know, you don't have to know somebody to find it sad. I never find things like that sad. I just don't get it. And you're like, well, that's a bit of a weird thing to come out and say. But a lot of people that age do have that opinion.
Is that... See, the thing that caught me about this was the association with video games.
Yeah.
And that's, maybe to be fair, granted the author, obviously he is a gaming journalist for a major...
And that's the thing, this is hinging on the implications of what it says about gamers. It's not saying that the research is wrong, it's saying that he doesn't like the suggestion that gamers are just hunched over a laptop with a cock in their hand. And that's fair enough. He's a video game journalist, he wants to stand up for that. But what I'm saying is, that is part of the problem. There is a part of this disassociation. I used to live on Southall Road, right? Now, that's a street which, if you ask anybody, that's a dodgy area to live on.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when I lived there were kids kicking balls against the fences, riding their bikes up and down. It was mayhem. Right? There were kids enjoying their time being kids. It wasn't a bad thing. The park was absolutely covered. The football pitch always on Lime Avenue always had people on there. This weekend, I went out delivering some parcels. There was a single child to be seen in glorious sunshine. And where were they all? You know, the obvious answer is inside playing on a computer. Because parents give them children, toddlers are giving tablets. And they're designing apps for 3 to 4 year olds to engage them, to keep them on that screen. And that's the worry I have. I try and keep my kids away from them now as much as I can, because I'm starting to see that this is something where you've got studies where people are saying that children are dealing with addiction to devices, that you take them away, they become withdrawn and angry. You've got people playing stuff they should be playing, which again we've talked about before. And parental responsibility or whatever. I mean, today I was talking to my partner's youngest, she's only 7. I was playing that game where you're flicking the things and jumping out of a building.
The phone.
And I said, it's not a game that's suitable for you. Oh, but it looks fun. I know, but it's not suitable. She was like, oh, go on. So, no. So I turned the game off. I was like, well, look, you can watch it. I turned off the suicide thing at the end, but there was no fun there. She just wanted to switch the thing. Yeah. Because as far as she's concerned, she's been coded by these different apps to have a reward system. She wants to do something that's a win. And that's something that is undeniable. Yeah. It's there, and it is a worrying thing. I think it is something that psychologically, over the next 25 years, we will see what the effect of this is.
But isn't this partly a symptom of the wider world?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's as we've said before, was it last week's show? Everything is commercialised to a point. You've got Sylvester Stallone advertising bread, for fuck's sake. And it's just... I know you chuckle at that one, but for me that was just another step down a road which is just increasingly nauseating.
Yeah.
And I'm less empathetic as I've got older. I really am. And I know I am, and I don't particularly like that about me.
No.
And, I've struggled with it myself for a long time. Partly because of stuff like that, because I don't like how some of the stuff I react to now in my head is the way I react. Because I never used to be like that.
No.
Where I am more cynical, I'm, beaten down more, perhaps. And ideas that I once thought you could uphold aren't necessarily true in the modern world.
No.
Which is sad and kind of like your eldest, I commute every day. So you literally just chug down this road, and it is like... And if you're doing that, it's soul-destroying doing that journey every single day, especially if you do it on your own.
Yeah.
Or you don't have something to sort of bounce off. It is... and it does push you into some weird place, because you're just... Every day, boom, boom. You're just marching to this beat.
You're an adult, right? So we're talking about teenagers who've got everything they've got going on, and they're in that system.
Yeah.
Now, the porn element, which they kind of skirt around very briefly because they don't want to say teenagers don't look at porn, because that's an almost categoric fact.
Yeah.
Teenagers always will. But there's also that element of how easy access that is. Like when I was a teenager, there was a boy at school, Matthew Ryder, his name was. I don't know what he does now. Might be a lawyer for all I know. He basically would go to his dad's bedroom, steal a porn mag, tear the pages out, and sell them 50 pence each. It was a really good business sense. I mean, he probably now owns a porn website because that's basically where he's heading. But that was the only way you could get access to it, unless you looked old enough to go into a magazine or you found a bin bag in the woods. It was simple. That's as it was. Now that's kind of almost a Stand By Me way of finding porn. It's like, oh, somebody saw a magazine down the railway tracks. Let's go on an adventure. Now it's the point where right now I could type one word into this phone and be presented with 5 million images.
Yeah.
And I know there's lots of ways I can protect my children from ever seeing that, but I can't stop my children looking for it. And that's the difference, because I can put all the amount of filters in the world, but my teenager will know how to get right past filters.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell him that he can't have access to the internet because of all the wonderful things, as we say, all the communities, the developments, the conversations, being able to talk to his friends. To have unfiltered access to a world of information also has an unfiltered access to a world of bad, corrupting influences. But then, is pornography a corrupting influence? There's lots of studies both sides that say it gives teenagers a bad image of themselves. It makes them feel that they need to perform in a way that the performers perform, even though there's a complete unreality to porn. And so it's that balancing act of they want to. I mean, I genuinely know a boy, and his name was Matthew. The Empire. There used to be a thing called the Empire Catalogue. I don't know if you're young enough.
I don't really
remember it. The K's Catalogue, do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, well, before that, there was one called the Empire Catalogue. And basically, that would come quarterly, and he would hope that when we were walking home from school, he'd see them stood by the front doors. He would belt home every single time. Now, for me, I'd get home, I'd be straight to the toy section to see what new Star Wars figures, or what new board games, or what new toy cars, or whatever. Yeah. That wasn't what he was going for. He went straight for the lingerie section. Yeah. And he just wanted to get it because he loved the smell of freshly printed catalogues and he loved the sight of boobs. And only about 2 years later, when he was still getting excited about the catalogue arriving and we were slightly too old to be excited about Christmas, did we start to wonder why. And we went to his house and he was in his front room with the catalogue on his face, trousers and ankles, in an armchair, just pumping away at himself. And we were just like, oh, what? And he was just like, he took it off and he went, oh, carry on. Unrepentant. And for him, that was probably the only porn he ever had. Like, he's the sort of person that would probably have felt it was anarchic to buy a copy of the Daily Sport and keep it in a folder under his bed or pull out a section from the Sunday Mirror or something. Because, that was what it was. It was getting access to something that we shouldn't have had in a weird way, but also using imagination to push it further. And that's something else this technology is taking away. It's taking away imagination, which is why games like Minecraft and Terraria are so brilliant, because it's putting it back. But then it's putting it back in a way that's then meaning they've got to be on a screen again. It's kind of self-serving, so it's a way of profiting from giving people imagination rather than just putting out a book that you can read. Roald Dahl wrote a brilliant poem as part of the original manuscript for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is criticising TV. It's in the Mike TV section. And I believe the short version got into the book. I think there was a very long version where he basically just said that TV rots everybody's brains. It's the worst possible invention. It's terrible. It's going to be the destruction of us all. He's talking about screens. It's not just TV. And Roald Dahl spotted that 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's always been an issue. It's just now we live in an age where access to screens is more viable and the content that's available on those screens is more objectionable. I talked last week about App Store ratings. Yep. Like, I still can't get around the idea that you can have horror content in a 4 rated game. That thing where you can jump out of the commit suicide is a 4 rating. I mean, you've seen it. It's not graphically violent. No. But the tone of that for
meet with a quite gruesome end,
I mean that would come on the low maturity setting. I don't want that in the low maturity setting. And I feel it's wrong that it should be. But of course, on that tick box system that Apple's App Store has, there's no blood, there's no violence, there's no gore, there's no swearing. There's just a sight scene of intensity and stress, which gives it the form. And so that game, while my partner's daughter wanted to play it, and she was old enough to play it, I had my judgment. Thought, well, that's not suitable. It's not appropriate for you. And like I said, this study's interesting in the way that it puts people in two categories. It kind of suggests you either hate gaming or you love gaming. That's not the truth.
See, the issue I have with it, because I don't disagree with anything that you said. We've both had our little rant about the wider world and technology.
Yeah.
It's that some of the cases used as evidence are minority cases.
No.
Isolated incidents. They don't represent the majority.
They don't.
And that's the issue I have, is it's painted as this happened to this boy, so it's happening to boys everywhere.
But then what you're reading is the quotes that the author has
Oh,
selected
yeah, no,
to isolate why
yeah.
Zimbardo is wrong. And it's made you agree with the author. So I just ordered the book. That's what I was doing while you were talking. Because I
very rude.
Well, you know, I like Zimbardo anyway. I like his work. I find him... It doesn't usually say something without very good grounding. But also, I like this idea of how technology is affecting human race. Yeah. So I
don't disagree with the sentiment there.
So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to read the entire text and then come back and, without pulling out quotes that support my theory, actually see how it balances out. Because he could very well say, there's this, this and this. These are all good things. But at the end of it, we have got people who are struggling with empathy. And we have got people who are struggling to socialise. And we have got people who are doing this and doing that and doing the other. Because, like it or hate it, the world has changed. And what it is to be male or what it is to be female has changed. You look at the Gamergate and look at the rise of feminist desires on Twitter, where people will sit there and shout at people for having a feminist view. And you've got this real kind of almost the antichrist of feminists suddenly rise up where... telling other feminists that they're not feminists because they don't do this. And suddenly everybody's got to be the person in the right and everybody else is in the wrong, and this age of arguments. I mean, you've got the whole country voted in an election, then the results came in, and most people went, we don't like that result, now we're going to protest again. And it's this whole thing of we're so disengaged. And somebody said to me the other day, well, why has nobody ever protested like this before? I was like, well, they have. Lots of times. There's lots of times that, even I think 2010, they protested against the vote, but Labour were protesting against it, and then still they were doing quite well, so stopped protesting against it. The AV thing was because of protest. They were looking in the 1930s to probably go to proportional representation because people were unsettled in the results. It's not a new thing.
No.
But it's new that we're seeing it on social media. We're suddenly aware of it more because it's right in front of us. And we can interact with it and we can talk about it. And that's the thing. We're no longer viewing history through a 9 o'clock news bulletin. We're viewing it real time and voiced by real people. And that's a brilliant interaction.
Yeah.
But it also means that everything you're hearing is filtered through the mindset of 1,000 people. And so you still don't know anything. Like, the main news channels didn't report the anti-austerity marches until someone vandalised the War Memorial.
Yeah.
And then it was, look at the Yobs protesting in London, they vandalised the War Memorial. Up until that point, peaceful protests. The best sign of I ever saw it was the Conservatives like Nickelback. Which was the best protest sign I've probably ever seen. And Charlotte Church's I'm mad as hell and not going to take it anymore, which I did like as well. Her and Kate Hopkins going squaring off against each other. I like the fact that Charlotte Church has said... somebody said to her she's wishy-washy, she's a liberal. But she said she went out and protested. She had a belief and she went out and shared that belief.
She posted something on her blog, which was then reposted on the Guardian website, which was quite good. Yeah. You don't have to necessarily agree with her politics.
No.
But I thought she put her point across quite well, is that you're entitled to do this. It's not anti-democratic to protest.
No.
You know, it's... there have been certain terminologies used for left and right, both pre and post-election, which were very unfair on the side in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And you know, there's good and bad people on both sides of the line, and this is what annoys me: is people only see or some people only see it from their side. They're like, "Oh, stupid lefties." It's like, hang on, there's people on the right side who are just as bad as those on the left. Grant Shapps. So
Jackson.
That kind of stuff annoys me. But she I thought what she said was quite good. She'll quite happily put a hand up and say she does have a privileged life. She could have done things differently and gone to LA if she wanted to, but she was proud to stay where she did in Cardiff with her friends and her family. She hasn't shied away from the fact that, yes, she's done very well out of her music career.
I said my favourite quote on
it's not like she's trying to hide
when she's paid tax since she was 7, which is my favourite quote in any article ever, because it's almost like, yeah, I paid tax since I was 7, actually.
But, I thought it was a good piece.
who haven't paid it at all.
So, no, I quite like that piece. And
like I said,
if you want to hunt it just put across, again, you don't have to agree with the politics, it just put across piece nicely.
What did come out of these elections, though, that's really good.
So,
no more Taxi Man.
No more Taxi Man.
Well, he's still on a council. I can't remember which one.
Town, possibly.
I think he's on town because he's left district now. So Dave Patrick has beaten by the only other candidate in his ward. Good old Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, actually. I drove past the Walsacre Village Hall doing a parcel run. And then I went, "Go on, Gary!" Shaking my fist like that. And Dave Patrick was still next to him. And I went, "Dave!" that's my democratic right there. I've shown support for you, and I've told you to fuck right off. And then he won, and he was told to fuck right off. So I was very pleased. But again, this is the thing. Like we're living in a time where it's totally understandable that male gamers would want to be hiding away in a bedroom. I mean, in all honesty, when you're not here, where am I sitting? I'm upstairs. I'm in a dark room watching Netflix, though, because I'm old now. I'm beyond the excitements of the world of porn.
I can't figure out how to get around the filter.
Well, no, the only time I ever watch porn now is normally ironically. Like, somebody will say, because I used to review the parody stuff, which we talked about before. People will go, I found this parody, let's watch it. And I'll watch it, and I'll be like, I quite enjoyed that as a parody. I'm just like, I'm like, you can do anything down there. Like, you've had 3 kids, you're just retired now. The rest of them is now just a porn parody watching, like, weirdo who just watches it while also eating noodles or something, or writing an article, or just casually having it on in the TV. Without even shutting my bedroom door now, I could quite happily sit there in my house and walking in. She goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm just watching this parody porn." "Oh, it's just, for an article." Well, I'm never right, because I never do, because I get too tired. But I do sit in a room playing on the Xbox, or sitting at my laptop in the room, and mostly interacting with people via those devices. It's not because it's difficult to go out and socialise, it's because a lot of the people I socialise with either live a long way away or are just as busy. We meet up once a week, but sometimes we have to reschedule it because we've got other stuff on, and it's difficult. So I think the way that technology has allowed us to still function by proxy, but there is a psychological aspect of that. And I remember reading an article about homeschooled children and the effects that homeschooled children have when they can't then integrate very well. If they go to, say, they had homeschool for primary school but then went to a secondary school, but they've not learned any of those skills. Yeah. Like how to deal with the playground, or how to judge whether somebody's angry or upset with you, because the only person you ever see is your parents. That's what this also implies. You've got people who, my partner's son as well. I mean, he plays Destiny a lot. And last night he was on he wasn't on a raid, I think he was on a strike. That the kind of ones where you take on a boss again sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah. He was on one of those, and he was saying about, I just want to finish this, I'm near the end. She was like, no, come on, you've been up an extra 20 minutes. And he got very kind of, not moody about it, but he was like, no, I'm going to do this. And she was like, shocked that he's flipped his personality, because he was so focused on what he was doing and so into it. And his friends were all there, and he was playing. He didn't want to be the person who went to bed, or he didn't want to be that. So he was kind of had that online bravado thing, which you do see are a lot of teen gamers, where they all have to be the best. They all have to send the abuse that makes them top of the pile. They're all showing off or being whatever. And I see it in him. I see it in my kids. I see it in a lot of kids. I hear it in a lot of kids. Just that kind of that attitude, which is why a lot of older gamers prefer to play together, because they want to filter that out a bit. And the younger gamers then end up sort of playing. They get in all that one-upmanship going on. So yeah, I'm going to read the book, and I'll let you know how it goes. And if you want to borrow it, you can borrow it as well. Yeah. But I think it will be quite an interesting read, because as I say, he's very well respected, and I dare say that the entire book probably won't have anywhere near as much focus on gaming as this article would suggest. But we will see. We will see.
Yes.
Right, Qwertee competition.
Actually, before we go, I did actually mention we were going to be talking about this very subject.
Did you know?
Yesterday. Yeah, I'm just finding the replies. Because I had a couple of replies.
Okay.
I was just interested in getting other people's thoughts because obviously, we talk to younger and older gamers, I think, every week.
Certainly do, yeah. And we speak on behalf of them as well.
Occasionally, I'd like to think that maybe we do.
I was talking to an MP the other week. Well, a former MP, no longer been elected. But he asked me what I do for a living. I said I work in an independent video game and movie shop, and I run a gaming podcast. And he asked me what a podcast was. And I said, I'll show you. So I loaded up the first 5 minutes of podcast. It was the one where it was trousers down and arse out. Or arse out, socks on. It's always funny. And he was like, what? It's like,
But anyway, so there's a couple of responses I had. One was from a chap on Twitter called @SwissYellow. Now, I've been gaming since the 70s, and in the industry since 91. Now, I know him, and he works for quite a big player within the gaming world.
Okay.
I won't say who, because it's not fair on him, because obviously he's private. So.
Can I guess? You don't have to tell me if I'm right.
Okay, you can guess.
Is it Konami?
No.
That's a yes, then. Konami.
So, anyway, in the industry since 91, heard this nonsense regularly through all that time. So, obviously, he kind of disagrees with the theory, but again, and from Stephen Dowson, who I know through hockey circles, but he likes his gaming too. Studies of 1,015 to 17-year-olds show that 11% play N64. Not just retro gaming, but the consoles specifically that show young people like old consoles due to the social nature and non-fuss games of old. So again, it's not just getting sucked into, like you were referring to with your partner's son, where you're sort of sucked into this very, almost competitive in a sense, environment. There is that relaxed old school edge to things as well. And I can completely agree with what Stephen said there, because that's partly why we used to play Horde. Because we like just the little group of us together against the AI.
You say that, look how much we all then ganged up on Andy, HDVD. Every time he'd moan about lag, and we'd all be like, oh god, lag! Yeah, and it did become like a kind of playground where it was like he was the whipping boy. Because he was rubbish.
And then you'd blow yourself up with a grenade.
I always used to blow myself up with grenades. That was generally what I do. That's my role in life. That's how I will die eventually, I'm sure. I'll go to a museum and go, oh look, grenade! And they go, don't put... Oh, he's gone. But...
nothing will ever be funnier in gaming as playing Destiny and Digital Flare was Titan. She popped a protective bubble.
Right.
Just as Snaptic Flare launched his rocket launcher, so he blew himself up. And just their profanities.
Nice. Especially as
timing could
they were
not
quite
have been
close to
better.
each other at the time, so
the timing could not have been better. I found it hilarious.
Hello everybody, Dalek Sex here. I'm back from my holiday stateside, which I spent crouching in a Civil War cabin in the mountains, eating very little but Jimmy Dean pancake and sausage on a stick and drinking nothing but moonshine and Four Loko. I'd like to talk to you today about the recent terrifying cull of OTA game developers, which has come to light in the press due to Hideo Kojima finally being cock-slapped around the choppos one time too many by Konami. I've sat down and tried to write this piece a good 4 or 5 times, but the words never come, so I'm just going to improvise this one. I talked to a friend of mine at Squaresoft. He wasn't always my friend at Squaresoft. I used to just know him as a bloke. But now he's a senior manager at Squaresoft. He doesn't work on the games anymore, but, neither does anybody famous at Squaresoft. So that's nothing to jump up and down about. And I was reading this article about how Shinji Mikami was gone from Capcom, how Igarashi was gone from Konami, how and Nomada, the crayon box man extraordinaire, the man responsible for putting zips on fucking everything, Mr. Final Fantasy VII, Mr. Kingdom Hearts, was gone from Square. And I said to him that I was sorry I hadn't been keeping up with him, and I had no idea that Nomura was gone, and he said two things to me. First of all, he expressed a number of opinions about Nomura, which I won't reproduce here because it could get him in trouble if he were ever identified. And number two, he said these auteur game designers aren't being culled, they are jumping ship because they have seen the writing on the wall. He said AAA gaming in Japan is dead in the next 3 months, and in the West soon after that, because the business model is no longer sustainable. Every single generation, the cost of a game goes up, and every single generation, the profit of a game goes down. I think we're up to about 60 million per game at the moment. And, you know, you if you're my age, or God forbid, Bouncy's age, you remember what it was like when you were a kid. Games were 40, 45 quid new. And they've never gone up, but the price of their production has gone up, and the speed at which they depreciate has gone down insanegans. I bought Dark Souls Scholar of the First Sin yesterday, and it's been out for less than 4 weeks, I think. It launched at about 60 quid, like everything does, and I bought it for 30 quid from Namco, not second hand. Mortal Kombat 10 launched the month before that. I saw a discount site selling it for 15 quid new. And is there any other industry where they spend tens of millions kicking a product out of the door, which is going to lose 3/4 of its RRP in the space of a month or 2 months? It's absolutely insane. And if you think I'm exaggerating here, the situation whereby if a game doesn't sell in the first day or the first week, then it will literally make no money, has got so bad that GameStop in America are now making everyone sign a binding agreement that if they have to discount the game in order to kick it off the fucking shelves, then you are going to underwrite that discount. So when you sell them your fucking Sonic Boom, which you want off the shelves at $60, and they have to discount it to 10 quid in an Animal Bar just to get people to touch the fucker, then you are going to have to pay them £49.75 just for every single unit they sell. And, you know, we've been overdue, long overdue, the next video gaming crash. And if anything is going to cause it, it is this. It is the fact that the situation is now on a knife edge. As they say on 4chan, there was a point at which this had to stop, and we have clearly passed it. And it has got to the point now where it's just going to take one gentle shove for people to stop buying games on day one, and for the whole thing to just come down like a fucking pack of cards, to be honest. And Total Biscuit, I think, who I don't tend to pay much attention to because he spends most of his time posturing and saying 30 frames a second? What is this, fucking Bosnia? But he is absolutely right when he says if anything is going to trigger this crash, it is the shoddy behaviour of softcos launching 60 quid games with a 30 quid season pass and 5 quid in-app purchases. That it's if the situation is really that fragile at the moment. If gamers get the idea that if they wait 4 weeks, then they're going to be paying half the price, but if they buy on day one, they are going to be gouged for everything that the softcos can get from them, that they're going to be treated like fucking idiots. That if they buy on day one, they'll not only be buying the magic beans, but the softco will take the cow back from them as well. That's it. That's it. It's over. And WWE, what is it? WW2K15 has launched with that. A Mortal Kombat 10 has launched with that. And, yeah. If I'd written this in advance, I'd have a really clever sign-off to this. But I don't. And we're fucked. It's all fucked. So, yeah. I hope you like your indies and Dark Souls. Which I do, which is great, because that is all we're going to have in a couple of months, by Christmas, at the very least. So yeah, Merry fucking Christmas, everyone. Tooroo!
Right, Qwertee competition. We ran this for the last couple of weeks.
We have.
We've had over 24 entries.
Wow.
I know, I was very pleased, because the weird thing is, we get 500-600 people download this a week. And every time we've ever done a competition, we've had 5 entries. It's very bizarre. It's like people don't want free stuff.
Oh.
More people reviewed us when we asked for a review than sent us an answer to a question via email when they could get something for it. Which is nice. It just goes to show how non-self-serving these people are. But...
So our next competition, send us 50 quid.
Well, we only get 150 quid though, because it'll be a competition.
So 50 quid.
So... What we did, because I put everybody in, I assigned you all a number.
Yep.
Not you, these people. Assigned everybody a number, and then to make sure I didn't just then sort of go the first result out, I don't really want them to win. Because sometimes you'd get that, Gav came up first. I was like, oh, fuck's sake.
Void.
But luckily, I'd already decided what I was going to do. So everybody had a number, went to random.org, and I hit the randomiser, and every time that number came up, I put a mark next to it. And the first person to 5 won the competition.
Okay.
Mostly because I just wanted a bit more ceremony. I wanted it to be a bit exciting. Oh, God, they've got 2. Are they going to win? Oh, they've got 4 now. So Emily was our first winner. Emily knows who she is because she listens to the show every week. But she works in PR. I think that's why she listens to the show, because she listens to hear what I say about the games that she tells me to talk about. And I've disqualified you, Emily, because you can get free T-shirts whenever you want. So you're disqualified. Boom. First woman who's ever entered our competition, I've disqualified her. How's that for feminism? Well, equal opportunities. Gav, you're also disqualified.
Disqualified Gav, so it evens out. Yeah, that's equality for him.
Exactly. So the winners are Rich Pell and Shogun Pumba. Daniel Young. I think.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Pumba's very lucky to get a T-shirt because
he doesn't normally own one. He normally works on bare-chested.
Well, this is it. You probably won't know this from Eurogamer, but every time we used to go to Eurogamer, we'd get given a small T-shirt. And it would always be funny to watch him as a 6'5" big man put the small T-shirt on and then just go and it just rip around him. He had a surgeon simulator on once, and it kind of just ended up here as a boob tube. And I did email him because we sent the email out just before we started recording, and I did say to him, well done, you can now have a shirt that actually fits you. You don't have to try this one on in front of a load of giggling, immature gamers. But congratulations, Rich and Daniel. You are winners. You've got your codes. You can use them for any T-shirt that coming in Qwertee. So choose wisely. Much like the end of Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. Although you won't turn into a skeleton with long hair if you choose it incorrectly. No, you just have a T-shirt that wasn't quite as good as a T-shirt you could have had if you'd waited. But that's an unenviable position because I don't like my monthly Qwertee challenge. So already I've seen 5. Today's one's brilliant. So green one, and it's a torn shirt, and underneath the Captain America logo uniform.
I saw that. I retweeted it earlier, hoping I might.
I know they're so bloody good. It's ridiculous. But so congratulations to you. Thank you to everyone who entered. If you didn't enter because you don't know the answer was Cresta lemonade. I drank 2-litre bottle in one, and it expanded my lungs to the point I couldn't breathe and I collapsed. And lemonade was vomiting out of me on its own.
The fact that Cresta got into your lungs might have been the problem rather than the volume of it. But...
No, it was the carbon dioxide in my lungs. I was kind of breathing while drinking, and it didn't work out so well. So don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't drink Cresta, if you can find it anywhere. No wonder it stopped being made. Right. I think that's the end of this show. We've done well.
Can I add one more thing?
Of course you can.
If people have access to Dave, the TV channel, not just a bloke called Dave, TVL, watch The Pub Landlord versus Nigel Farage.
It's very good.
Very good. It's one of the best pieces of political satire I've seen for a long time. If only because once you've watched it, then go look at Al Murray's Twitter feed and see all the people who've just been abusing him and he's just been replying to. It was hilarious. It kept me most amused the entire weekend, and the show was also very, very good.
And I will throw in the vote from
with
E4.
Judi Dench. Yep.
Was an exceptionally well put together piece of comedy drama, mainly starring
Catherine Tate in it.
Mark Gatiss, Catherine Tate, and a woman whose name I can never remember. Judi Dench was one of the guest stars on it. Jude Law is in it for about 10 seconds.
Oh.
It was amazing. It's basically filmed on a stage, live, and it was in real time, and it was the end of the election day. So it was in a polling station, and it was very good. But basically, one of the characters called her brother to encourage him to come and vote, and that was Jude Law.
Yep.
And it's Catherine Tate. And he comes in, and she's like, no, pushes him straight back out the door. That's his entire role in that thing. That's how confident this thing was, to have Jude Law walk on and be shoved off stage by Catherine Tate. It was so good. And like I say, it's on the all four, is it now called? It used to be 4OD. It's on all four. Absolutely essential view. And even if you're not into politics, it's worth watching just as a piece of comedy drama. Judi Dench swears, which is brilliant, and dances with a Scottish man. It's just perfect staged comedy drama, and it has that election twist. I hope it comes out on DVD because I want to buy it and own it. So there's two recommendations: Pub Landlord versus
Nigel Farage,
and The Vote. Once you've done all those, if you've still got some time left in your busy schedule, you can rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, or tell a friend to listen, which we always like. I did hear from somebody who emailed us for the first time ever this week in regards to entering the competition. Said, long time listener, first time email us. We love that because it is nice to know there are people genuinely there. They're not just a number, because we never know really if it's a genuine download or some piece of software somewhere that's been set up just to make it look like we're doing all right.
Yeah.
So
just a bot downloading the Back in the Game podcast 100 times a week.
Yeah, it's probably Hamhock, like Newsbot somewhere in a bunker, who's like, I want to be back on the show. But without Hamhock, he's not coming back. Because Hamhock and Newsbot are a double act. It would be like having the one Ronnie, and that would be shit. Yeah. And it was shit.
Well, Open All Hours was alright.
No, the one Ronnie, there was a special they
did.
I don't remember. He did some of the sketches that he did with Ronnie Barker, but with other comedy performers.
Oh, wait, vaguely, it's ringing a bell.
He did one where he went into a shop.
It was about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
2-3 years ago. Yeah. He went to a shop, and it was all about mobile phones. He was like, I'm here to buy a BlackBerry. And he got out he said he had an orange, but it was an actual orange. And it was terrible. Awful. So, yeah. Ronnie Barker was the talent. You can tweet us at We Are The Holocaust with a letter R. Or you can follow me at Bouncy with an H2B.
And you can follow me at Rob McGregor 35.
As you heard earlier, the song from Dalek. You can follow him at The Voice of Sex. And coming back soon will be Tube Blockers with him and Mark. You can follow him at XBLA Silicam, as in Stilla Black. Join us next week for episode 20.
If people get bored in the meantime, they could check out the blog, holocaust.co.uk.
They could do that. I need to put that back on running order because it was on there.
And there is the Tumblr feed as well. We are the holocaust.tumblr.com.
Yeah. And
if people prefer to follow what we do on Tumblr.
Yeah. But if you're interested with the blog, you can also subscribe to the blog and it will email you every time we do a post, which is quite handy because we don't always update it every day. And it does mean you don't miss some of our lovely words that are going in. I've got through the entire episode 19, without doing a joke about 19.
You did that last week.
Well, I've been doing it all week on the parcel run with my partner because I get quite bored, as you know.
Yes.
And I get distracted. So words fire off in my head. You also know that you'll say something and my head will say something completely random. So we went to a house, it was 19, and I was like, no, 19. The average age of a male catching a flight to Amsterdam this weekend. And I was going through all these different facts that weren't the average age of a soldier going to Vietnam. Which she was like, do you think you're Paul Hardcastle? And I was like, yeah, I'm Paul Hardcastle. If all he did was produce documentaries about 19-year-olds for the rest of his life. So there was that. We went to Jeffrey Avenue, which every time I go onto that road now, I go, we're going to go down to Jeffrey Avenue. And then we take it higher. And every time I do it, I look at her and she's just glaring at me to say, just get out of the car. Right now, I don't care if you're on Jeffrey Avenue or not. Just get out. Miles Way, as I've done
Robert
loads. Done loads of different Miles songs. What else have we done? Oh, it's loads. Absolutely loads. But 19, I've absolutely had a blast. I might just do a blog post for all the different 19 facts from the week. It's of no interest probably to anyone, but it's content.
Yes.
And content is king. That's what I was told in my old marketing job. So next week, I'll know if I've got a new job. I'll know if I'm going to be made unemployed and homeless, because I'll be kicked out of this place. I'll have to live at yours. In your shed.
I did clear a space in the shed at the weekend.
Have you got a shed?
Yeah.
That's right.
I cleared some space, actually. It was a tip, so I'm like, right, I'm going to sort this shit out.
And then I'll rent it to Bouncy for 60 quid a week.
Yeah.
All I need is a darkened room, some porn, and access to a computer, apparently.
There's no power down there, but it's darkened. And
Does it have a Wi-Fi signal?
Yes.
I'll just charge my phone up, take that down there with me. I've got everything on there I need. So we'll be back next week. Hopefully I'll be back next week. Hopefully you'll be back next week for more Back in the Game. That sounded a bit too professional.
It was very good. I was impressed.
Yeah. I might start working on that as an actual thing out. And I'll have played this Singapore edition of Kombat X by then as well, which we'll talk about next week. But it's fucking weird.